mercury mouth in the missionary times, and your eyes like smoke, and your prayers like rhymes, and your silver cross, and your voice like chimes. Oh, who do you think will bury you with your pockets well protected at last, and your sweet car visions which you place on the grass, and your flesh like silk, and your flame like glass? Who could they get to carry? Sad-eyed lady of the lowlands, where the sad-eyed prophet says that no man comes. My warehouse eyes, my Arabian drum, should I put them by your gate? A sad-eyed lady, should I wait? With your sheets like metal, and your belt like lace, and your deck of cards missing the jack and the ace, and your basement clothes, and your hollow face. Who among them can think he cannot guess you? Your silhouette when the sunlight dims into your eyes, where the moonlight swims, and your matchbook songs, and your gypsy hymns. Who among them would try to impress you? Sad-eyed lady of the lowlands, where the sad-eyed prophet says that no man comes. My warehouse eyes, my Arabian drum, should I put them by your gate? The sad-eyed lady, should I wait? For the kings of Tyre, their convict lists are waiting in line for their geranium kiss, and you wouldn't know it would happen like this. But who among them really wants to just kiss you? With your childhood flames on your midnight rug, and your Spanish manners, and your mother's drugs, and your cowboy mouth, and your curfew plug. Who among them do you think resist? Sad-eyed lady of the lowlands, where the sad-eyed prophet says that no man comes. My warehouse eyes, my Arabian drum, should I leave them by your gate? Oh, sad-eyed lady, should I wait? Oh, the farmers and the businessmen, they all side to show you dead angels that they used to hide. And why did they pick you to sympathize with their side? How could they ever mistake you? They wished you accepted the blame for the farm with your city at your feet and your floating false alarm, and with the child of the hood wrapped up in your arms. How could they ever persuade you that lady of the lowlands, where the sad-eyed prophet says that no man my warehouse eyes, my Arabian crown. Should I leave them by? Oh, sad-eyed lady, should I be? Your sheet metal memory of Cannery Row, and your magazine husband who one day just had to go, and your gentleness now, which you just can't help but show. Who among them do you think would employ you? Now you stand with your thief, you are on his parole, with your holy medallion, with your fingertips they hold, and your saint-like face and ghost-like soul. Who among them do you think can destroy you? Sad-eyed lady of the lowlands, where the sad-eyed prophet says that no man comes. My warehouse eyes, my Arabian crown. Should I leave them by your gate, or sad-eyed lady, should I wait? prophet says that no man. My warehouse size, my Arabian drum. Should I leave them by your gate? Oh, sad-eyed lady, should I wait? Greetings, friends. How you doing? Now you know the reason behind the title. Flat Earth, Lady of the Lowlands. I haven't sang that song in ever such a long time, and I'm sort of reading the words as well, so that throws off the cadence a bit. I hope it came through reasonably okay. Anyway, yeah, that was one of my favorite songs of all time, way back. Great song. I can look at it now and see absolutely different things, than what I ever did. All of Bob Dylan's songs were loopers. Like they, you could think a million and one different ways about them. But yeah, when you have a little bit of a better context, it all becomes clear. You can talk as cryptically as you like about a secret. And it won't mean shit to anybody, But the minute you find out the secret, or the minute you find out the key, I guess, the minute you find the key, then everything becomes sensible and tangible, and you can make sense of it all in a much greater sense. So I better check it, I suppose, if the thing is on. How about that? That'd be an idea, wouldn't it? But even if it isn't on, I just sang it to myself anyway, and sort of enjoyed singing that, but not so much as well, because my guitar doesn't sound great. My voice doesn't sound great. But yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I know there's a lot of hangouts on tonight, so I'm not in competition with anyone really, but just have a few things to say. So that'd be cool. I want to go through a couple of things, which have all been mentioned before, but I haven't had the opportunity on my own hangout here to maybe expand on some of them or give my full thoughts. So I'm just going to check that out. I see the watch page is up anyway. So oh yeah, that sounds good. That sounds okay. Maybe it's a bit too high there, so I'll lower it down a small bit. I'll just say hello to people in the chat. Mom, how you doing? Mom, loyal one, Mom, how you doing, Mom? Since I arrived in these hangout scenes, really, me and you have never had a bad word, as most of us here as well, actually. John Watson, the same. How you doing, John? Of course, Del. How you doing, Joe? Thanks for tuning in. You must have many little hangouts on the go at one time, because there's about 7 or 8 of them on. So it's no problem anyway. Yeah, and I think that's coming through okay. So yeah, no Foo Fighters tonight, Del. The whole thing the whole hangout, all 5 hours of it got deleted from my channel. So I don't know how that is. I tried to sort of I tried to edit out the 3 or 4 minutes in question, and it seemed to be taking ages, so I just left it do its thing. But when I came back, then the whole hangout is gone. Didn't really want to see it for anything, but I know we talked about a few things, like, which I suppose we talk about again. But I think you might have a copy of it somewhere anyway. So, but it doesn't matter. It's cool. Yeah, that was Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands. I hope it came across okay. Excuse me. Just another Bob Dylan number there. Fuck it, I'd be hard pushed. And not that I'd be hard pushed, but I knew a lot of Bob Dylan songs, you know what I mean? And when I found out about Bob Dylan, he's just an actor, just a theater member, or no, a stage member. It's been about 3. I'm definitely sure there's 3 different Bob Dylans. Pretty sure. James Damiano is the man I was trying to think of the last night. He was a sort of ongoing court case apparently with Dylan, and there's a gag order put on him. He can't speak about it, can't talk about the case or anything like that, even though it's not disputed. So it's a copyright song ownership claim. So that just tells you the power these people have. They're all connected, so they can make anyone shut up. And if you don't take a settlement, which is your usual way of dealing with things, they tie you up in in this court system for years and years. I'm imagining that's how it works. So cool. How you doing, Tom? Where's the dodo? Dodo's everywhere, man. Dodo's everywhere. The dodo is always there, ubiquitous, and never there at the same time. So Isn't that funny? Isn't that how they work? Everything is in the opposite, And I'm pretty convinced about the dodo. The only thing I need to do is to find the exact, and I can picture it now. I can picture it, and I know the exact continental sizes are laid out somewhere, So all you need to do, I think, the tip of South America is the key, and just with the dodo, yeah, very interesting. I mentioned this again just because you mentioned it. That it was a puzzler. Go to time and date now and look at Chile, the west coast of Chile, Santiago, and look at the east coast of Brazil, just the very point, the closest point to Africa. We all know it. We can all picture it anyway. And those two places are on the same time zone. Now, what's going on? I mentioned this to Antonio Subrats, and he said that, his reason was that a time and date chooses these things willy-nilly. I said, no, man, no, you don't do that, because I'm in the same time zone as you, because roughly the sun is in the same spot in the sky at the same hour, at the same point in time. So that's not, any one of us is free to go on time and date. And if there was such an anomaly there, it would be reported. Now, the very fact that one is on the west coast and one is on the east coast of South America, as we look in the traditional sense, all the directions are wrong. Throughout the compass, it's no good. It's not, there's no good to us. But in terms of flat Earth land, no, that compass is wrong. Again, that's just telling you where the big magnet in the center is. That's all that compass is doing. And again, I'll point out that east and west don't exist nothing exists on a fabricated spherical ball anyway. But east and west, as we know them, don't exist. We can't use them for anything really, because if I was to get you to point east, and we're on a globe, right? You can't point in any particular direction, because there's always a point further east that's going to be around the curve. And an expression, and these expressions, as they come down to us, contain truth. This is why they make it to us. So the expression that I thought of is east, west is west, and never the twain will meet. Well, how does that work on the globe Earth? Because if I go east and Del goes west, right, and we just continue around on the same ecliptic, let's say, we're going to meet, we're going to meet in the middle. So that doesn't, something is wrong there, either the phrase itself or the expression itself is wrong, which I know it's not wrong now, I know it's right, or else, the ball Earth is wrong. Now, traditionally, you would go, well, it must be the expression itself. It must have applied to a flat Earth, you know what I mean? And it just carried on. But no. If it carried on like that, it would have soon dropped and died because of its untruthfulness, or its unreality. But no, it lingered, and we've all heard it. East is east and west is west, and never the twain shall meet. Well, this is exactly what the dodo shows us, and that's what I started talking about: east and west, east and west South America, Chile and Brazil. That's what Antonio said. I discounted that immediately, and just go on time and date and you'll see this. Now, couldn't they just have put, if Antonio was right and to do it willy-nilly, it would make more sense for them to just put Chile 2 hours ahead or 3 hours ahead. There's a few time zones in between that would fit in there, but no, they couldn't do that either. So they have to be accurate to some pretty good degree. They can't be wildly off. They can't be an hour or two off. Might be off by a few minutes, because of course we know that they're dealing in fabrication, and they're trying to attach a fabrication, a fiction, to a reality. But when you look, this is why I brought this up, when you look at the dodo's beak is pointing, let me get up the dodo. I wasn't going to talk about this. I have other things to talk about, Tom, but let me just talk about this briefly anyway. So let me share the screen. I'll put on a light in a second now, or I'll bring the light out to a better position. So here we have the dodo. I'm just gonna check now that that's coming up. Yeah, that's cool. So I'll just briefly, Tom, what I'm saying to you. And again, these are all just my thoughts on these things. It's not that it's not that I've given up on trying to develop them further, but I'm just going along with it anyway. So let me just bring up the magnification a little bit. That doesn't come up so easily. Hang on. There you go. There you go, my dodo friend. Look at that. Perfect. Bit smaller. There you go. Perfect. Right. So So here we go. Actually, do you know what I could do now? That's what I might do in a bit, is bring that. No, actually, I'll do that another time. I'll bring it into Paint. I have something in Paint already I wanted to go through. But anyway, so briefly, you can see my cursor here. So the north center is here. All compasses point, no matter where you are, your compass is going to point into the north, one particular direction, right? That's because of the nature of the center. You know, there's a giant magnetic center there, you know. So if we think of the north center here, and again, you can overlay a chessboard. That's what I might do in Paint, you know, overlay a chessboard where people will get an idea of the grid-like structure, a system to describing flat Earth, you know. So east and west is wrong. Again, it's as applies to a globe, and we know the globe is fantasy, so we have to be willing to throw pretty much everything out. But this is what I'm talking about. South America. So again, the exact continental arrangement has to be decided first. But South America starts around here and comes around and rolls around. So we can see that Brazil would be over around here somewhere, you know, the point of Brazil. And if you look at that, pretty much on a deadline with Chile, Santiago. So as the sun comes around in a kind of an oval fashion, as the sun comes around, this way, clockwise, it will meet the east of Brazil and the west of Santiago. And again, most of the rest of South America, the southern parts of South America, are in the same time zone as Brazil. It covers all the way around, you know. So this is just sort of the basic point I'm making. So as the sun comes around the north center, everything revolves around the north center. It meets these 2 points. If you can just superimpose a picture of South America in your head here, it's even the shape. Look, it's even to the big point here. It has that flow and that contour to it. So yeah, this is when the sun meets those 2 points, and time and dates adds up then, and it makes perfect sense. What Antonio Subirats did in his amendment to the map was swung this other way, so it was further away from this point. So that's not right. And you can even as you're looking at the dodo here, you're getting an idea of America coming around here. Now Ireland is over here, right? And then you have Africa going down here, and then you have all of Asia wrapping around. Again, the north center here, all of Asia wrapping around, and you know, waters. Now the extent of the waters, that's another. I think we can garner a lot of things from mixing and matching different maps. You know what I mean? We have to pay attention to what's good and what isn't from certain maps. I think this is the way they have encoded it. But in my thinking, the dodo is the key, you know, and again, this is what we're being pointed to. And I know I mentioned this with Del, and I mentioned it the last night as well, but it bears repeating. Again, I knew that Radiohead were an insider band. Of course they are. You don't get to these positions unless you are. And I knew they were one of the main ones as well, based on them doing in 2000, mind you, the soundtrack to the 2001 epic action adventure movie we saw on TV, which was the 9/11 official movie release, you know, 102 minutes. So if Radiohead did the soundtrack in 2000, that means that the images must have been there in 2000. And I also have talked about a different story in terms of an encounter. A guy was relating to me on one of the forums about, you know, someone who was in prison being shown the 9/11 movie about a year beforehand as a sort of a test audience, you know. So again, I knew Radiohead were a massive clue. And even in my own life, always been a fan of Radiohead. Pretty much, not so much later stuff, but the earlier stuff I knew a lot of, and loved a lot of their songs as well, you know. So yeah. I knew when the dodo was there and doing a bit of research, typed in Radiohead and the dodo to see what would come up. And yeah, first hit 42 things you didn't know about Tom York or something like that. Number 6 was Tom's nickname given to his brother when he was younger was Dodo. What's the odds? What are the chances of that, man? You know, it's just for me, it's cool. I don't need to. Going into working the odds, you know what I mean? For someone else, they'd be a lot less. But for me, because of the nature of the search I did in the first place and knowing everything I knew coming into that, yeah, it made fucking sense. And yeah, that's just one of the other clues. So I know that I think that the dodo is a central role, plays a central role in this. Again, it's just a matter of, and look, even the tail feathers here, I'm thinking, are pretty close to Mauritius, but what we have to remember is, or what we have to sort of go along with, if we're running with this, is that nothing about the dodo is real, So when you look into it first, it's automatically associated in the first writings with the giant turtle in Mauritius, so there's a big clue again. We mentioned this the other day with Terry Pratchett and the age-old idea of the Earth on the back of a giant turtle. Now, I take that as allegorical, and it sort of represents the oceans, the waters beyond, not the ocean, the waters beyond, so the Earth is in the midst of this, I don't know, maybe infinite waters, or definitely expansive waters beyond, and that ties in as well with my idea of the dome, the barrier, not the dome, the barrier, and the luminaries that we see and how they are functioning and are working around that barrier. And it needs to be water, it does need to be a reflective barrier. So I'll leave the dodo there for the minute. That's all I wanted to say about that. Nothing new really, but I do hear a few people talking about it. I'm definitely getting slagged about it, but as far as I'm concerned, the people, the antagonists, the agents of deceptions, the actors don't want to mention this, because if they're already privy to what's going on, and I think a lot of them are, I definitely think so, then they're there in a sense to help you puzzle it out, but not in that sort of a way, So I don't imagine that there'll be much talk about it, or even much ridicule for that matter. So anyway, I haven't changed my mind about it. So let's move on from there. Okay, if that's all right. Okay, am I coming through okay, Del? I think I am. Let me just... that's all right. Yeah, that's cool. It's a bit difficult to sort of talk on your own, you know what I mean? But I guess you'll get used to that as well. I should get used to it. I should be more used to it than anyone else. Do more talk, to myself than anybody. But yeah, well, no. So magnetic declination is a red herring. No, no multi-tom. Don't think so. See, what's really happening, and it's interesting. This is one of the things I wanted to talk about. Interesting enough, Iceland is an interesting character. But he was talking today. I was just in his chat listening to him, and he was talking about how he realized the compass, the square in the compass, described a dual system. So if a system that connects to the Earth, and also a system that connects to the sky. Wasn't it funny? I mentioned this the last time in my other hangout, and I know that Isa heard that. So isn't it funny that he just had that realization yesterday? But we won't say any more about that. It's fine. Whatever information is out here is public, So if we all got working on it, that's cool. But let me just bring up to add my own few cents on the square and compass. Let me just bring up a picture of it. So I think, this ties in as well with the, here we go. Okay, this ties in with, here we go. This one will do. Okay, I hope you can see that screen. Right, so this is what I was saying the last night, and I realized I've been saying this for a good while now, that the Earth should be mapped out into Cartesian coordinate system. It's grid-like. When you zoom in on your local area and your ordnance maps or whatever, it's all grid-like. Suddenly when you zoom out on a world scale, then you introduce these spherical coordinate systems, which of course, as we know, as flat earthers have no place on the flat Earth. Even the Gleason's map, again, it's all about latitude, longitude. No, we need to throw that out. So that's what the square represents. The square represents the grid, the Cartesian system, which should be used for the flat Earth. And this is below, of course. The square will always be below. So again, just set your chessboard over the dodo, if you will, because again, I do think the dodo is an accurate representation of the relative positioning of the continental masses on flat Earth. It's a fixed thing. There's nothing moving here. If we take the sky and all the luminaries out of the equation, the Earth is still. If you just turned off everything, the Earth is still. It's not moving. So that's where the Cartesian or the spherical, like your science grid book, this is what it is. And you can think about how easy it would be to to locate any point. Now the north center, the north center, or the X, and the X marks the spot in the, think of the very center of your chessboard. That lies directly over the north center. Now how big the area is in the north center, that's another puzzle. That's one that is yet to be figured out. It could be many miles. It could be many miles in scope. We just don't know. I don't suspect it's too massive, but it's massive enough. So that's where the set square here comes in. Grid-like fashion. The G almost grid as well, but I know it's not for that. The G is for something else. So then we have the compass, right? Of course, compass is for circles or spherical geometry. This is what we applied to the barrier above and the path that the sun travels around this barrier. So it's a conjunction of the two of things. The barrier is fixed, the sun is moving. Now, what the sun is, that's another question, right? So I mean, I've been saying that for a while, and it makes sense. The ball earthers, they always try to describe the Earth by getting us or asking us to look up, and again, they have you looking in the wrong direction. We need to leave that aside. But here's where we're getting to the rub of matters. The G, the big G in the center. Right, the G, and again, look, brilliant. What does the G look like there? What letter does the G look like? So again, actually, doubly brilliant, because the G was not always a letter in the alphabet. The G wasn't. The G was introduced, and it became the seventh letter. So you have F as the sixth letter. And if you remember my T-shirt the other day, it was the French Federation of Football, and you had the cockerel on the front, which I encoded dodo, as I say, but FFF. Now G came along and became the seventh letter. But what does it look like? Looks like a six, doesn't it? Isn't that funny? And I'm just thinking about this now as well. Just a little bit. I know I was going to talk a little bit about this, but it just looks like a six for all the world, doesn't it? And if you want to take it as if the G is sort of an intruder, then real six would be F. FFF then is 666. But GGG 666. Now, what does 666 mean? It's about the sun. IPS talks about that. I think he's right about Jesus and the sun, I'm sure. And but 666, is it demonic? What is it? Why does it keep popping up? Well, and why is it 3 6s? Well, here we go with the G. The G for me here describes the sun. And it describes the three separate movements of the sun. So we got the circular movement, right? We've got the vertical movement, and we've got the horizontal movement. And all of these movements combined give us the sun as we observe it in everyday life. Now, when you get to the center, also here we go as well. The G is right in the center, and it sort of ends, and at X marks the spot almost. Right in the center. So what is going on there? What is the sun? What is the system that allows this to happen? Well, here we have to go into myth and legend and, ancient correspondence and all this sort of stuff. They talk about a floating island. Now, that sounds fantastical, but again, we're into the realms of reality, actually. This is where I'm at now. So everything is flipped. Fantasy is reality, reality is fantasy. Floating island, which is doing these three movements. You got the circular movement, again, the vertical movement, and the horizontal movement sort of simultaneously. Now, we know that the sun has its sort of annual path, and it has its monthly path, and its daily path as well. So all of these things are sort of combining into a unified whole. But remember that the system is broken. So we're dealing here with a broken system. And when I speak the next time about what I think the sun is, you'll understand that a bit better, why it's broken. Tying in with that as well, for me, is if you think about the circular movement here, a big sweeping arc of the G, the ship's navigator, Jim, who's passed on now, or alive again, if you will. He's gone to the next place, or gone home. He thought the idea of a flat earth laughable. He was on the seas all his life, you know what I mean? Intelligent man, absolutely nothing lacking in that front, but flat earth ridiculous. One thing he did tell me, the tides always surge from the north. And that struck me at the time. And I was, that's, we knew the ball, we knew the, official explanations, rubbish and all that. But that struck me at the time, man. And of course, if you think about it in real terms, that's billions upon billions, not trillions of tons of water going somewhere and coming from somewhere. So there's some mechanism at play here. And that's twice per day, right? We can all picture and envisage water going down a plug hole. So I'm just, again, making this connection. If you think about an island, floating island, and it following these water movements on a daily basis, then you will have, you can imagine some of that movement. You can picture in your head how something like that might work, and yeah, what exactly the mechanism, of course, is unknown. But I do, again, to stress, it is a broken system. So we are dealing with something that is not working or functioning as it should do, I think. And yeah, so the 666, very similar to the G there. But again, it is indicative of the three separate types of movements that this island is going through. So if you imagine a big, massive light fucking shining upwards from this island, but the island itself is rotating around. And that's, okay, well, this is why the sun itself and the moon, this is why the moon, when you get to the other extremities of the earth, is orientated 180 degrees the opposite way, because the island itself is going around in a circle. And again, it's like the old system epicycles, but now we're talking about a solid object which is rotating or swirling with these daily earth movements, So yeah, that's pretty interesting. I'm glad I just looked at this, actually. The 666 thing ties in, with what I was thinking about the G already, which is the three separate movements. Because again, we have three separate sort of movements to make the G, a big sweeping arc, a vertical movement, and a horizontal movement. So again, if you have all of those movements acting in unison, in tandem, then, an effect is going to be produced from that. And that is the world we see around us, We can't go trying to rationalize or in a logical sense work out what's going on, again, because everything is broken. We can't do it from the scientific point of view, or the scientism point of view anyway, because that'll take us nowhere. We know where that's taken us. So yeah, this is where I'm at the minute, and I'm pretty happy with it, actually, because it's sort of all tying in. All of these numbers and symbols, the fear of God has been put into us regarding but all of them are innocuous. All of them are just describing the natural world, within us, that we're within. And also, again, some of our systems within our bodies, our functionality. Again, the 33 is, again, Jesus died when he was 33. Yeah, well, we have 33 vertebrae. In order for us to become enlightened again, and the way instead of enlightened, what I think is happening is we have become divided, or we've been invaded by some sort of a parasitical entity or whatever. Whether it's on purpose, whether we did it to ourselves, whether it's been done to us, but we have the ability to overcome it. If you think about the creation of Adam with the Lord God, I don't think it's God, it's the Lord God holding out his finger. Adam is not quite touching it, So, there's still hope for us. We can overcome, but this is we can overcome. What a funny choice of words, because I think it actually in men, I'm not sure about women. I don't know how it might apply in women, but in men, I think if we hang on to, or Jesus, of course, was celibate as well, or at least according to the Bible story. So if we hang on to our vital fluids, or semen, and we can sort of imbue it, meditation and imparting, if you will, then we can get that sacred fluid to rise up within us and I guess invade whatever parasite is going on within our whole system, but most especially up and around the brain area, So again, I don't think there's anything to be scared of with all these numbers, and we are being we're being let know the truth in plain sight. It's just a matter of learning how to read that. So yeah, any questions about that? Let me stop sharing that. So that's interesting. It's an interesting possibility anyway, isn't it? Again, we can see here the compass, the square. Well, it's all about the sun. You know, without the sun, we'd be nothing. And the sun is the sum of all things. So it stands to reason that this is what the G represents. You know, the earth is already represented by the square, the sky by the compass. So the G represents the sun, man. And again, beautifully ties into what I'm thinking as well. It's because all you have there is the G. There's nothing else there, is there? Yeah. So I'll leave that there for a minute. I'll just go into chat just to see any questions, or I hope I'm boring myself actually the way I'm talking like this. So I hope it's not too boring, but it doesn't matter. Okay. Oh yeah. So the magnet. That's the thing. Here's the thing, Tom. The magnetic declination then is the island just fucking moving around. You see? It's the island. So it's a constant state of sort of motion. This is why the north is constantly moving. But then again, the north is not so pertinent to reality, you know, in one big sense. So okay. Drain Man, how you doing? How you doing, Dave? Hi, nice to see you, buddy. You're welcome to come in, Dave, or anyone. Drain Man, Del, Mum. What the fuck am I talking about, Drain Man? Maybe you can ask a clear question, or else if you come in a bit late, you can go back to a few minutes ago and you'll find out. How you doing, Mark, Billy? Nice to see you, buddy. Millennium got banned from Jamie's. I'm sure not. I heard your wrench was taken, Mum, but yeah, you know how I feel about wrenches anyway. But I don't think so, man. I don't think you were banned anyway. So yeah, I think your wrench was just removed. But plenty of people need wrenches removed. What's going on with Ali giving Mark Taylor a wrench and Jed Skeptic? What's going on there? That don't make any sense, man. So, I don't know why someone would do that. If you've been on the scene even for a short amount of time, you realize that these people are completely untrustworthy and have no business on a flat Earth hangout chat having moderator powers. You know, simple as that. So. Yeah. Okay. So let me change tack for a second. This is something that I'm going to share my screen again. So this is something in connection to Theresa May. I thought this was funny. Someone left it in a comment under one of the videos. And I thought this was funny just in comparison, or just in relation to some of the talk I do about Theresa May, and especially outing her as a man. So this story pops up here. So this story pops up, and a few interesting numbers here as well, actually. Fake story, first of all, sort of, not real. I think you can tell by the pictures itself. It looks photoshopped, but that's not even the point. So anyway, so here's the headline in the Mail. So now that's standing up for Britain. It says pranksters write Theresa on the privates of a 180-foot hillside chalk figure. Now, first of all, first thing to take note of, 180 drops to 18. 18 is 3 times 6. Okay, so that's fine. You get your 666 there. And so it says the gag is daubed on CERN Abbas Giant is thought to be a nod to Tory party's slogan. Unclear whether the letters have been painted on the 180-foot. Well, unclear. How can it be unclear? But anyway, I got out my binoculars and burst out laughing. So the prank was spotted by drivers. Anyway, so let me read through it. Oh, it's interesting. Yeah, the date is 6. You love this, Mum. The date is 6 of the 6th, so that's 66. And then look at the time, 11:27. So 11 and 2 and 7 is 9, 11, 9. So again, the numbers tell you the story. Pranks, I left a comment, by the way, but there's no way my comment will get published. Actually, I'm going to see if it did actually now, but I don't think so. I think you have to sign in and be a member or whatever. Anyway, so here's the story. Pranksters have turned the air blue by writing the word Theresa on the giant penis of a hillside chalk man. The large-scale gag is thought to be a nod to the Tory slogan, standing up for Britain. And the ancient hillside monument, the CERN Abbas Giant, endorsed it, has been a symbol of fertility for hundreds of years. And it says it was unclear whether the letters had been printed on the 180-foot 666 chalk man or cardboard cutouts. So here we see this Abbas Giant, and on the groin area we have Theresa. And you can zoom in there. It looks fake from a distance here, but look again. Looks fake. Look how fake that looks. It looks pasted. Let me zoom in a small bit. So look how fake that looks. I mean, what's going on here? So again, fake story, but they're telling us again. It's all funny in a big sense, but they're telling us in open view, plain sight. They're giving us the truth. Here's another interesting part. Look, you can see. Look at how bad that looks. You know. So to me, yeah, Teresa is a male. Terry May, as I call him, and. Yeah, they're rubbing the dick in your face, like Teresa's dick in your face. So I hope you're happy with that. Whoever, I mean, you think that you have a leader that's a woman, but it's the clearest example of a man dressed as a woman yet. Here's another interesting, again with the names and the numbers. A local Jonathan Steele, 63, so 3 times 6. He was driving past. Again, this is just filler here. I was driving past. I didn't know what I saw. I didn't know if it was painted on. I saw it first thing this morning. First thing, morning glory. First thing. I helped out a chap at Cernabas and was going down to see him, going down. So again, it's all sexual innuendo. You can't miss the giant. It's on the side of a hill. And I thought, that looks bright. I got out my binoculars and burst out laughing. What is that? Down his old man. Oh, sorry, down his old man. I was wondering, how's that? Down his old man was Teresa. Down his old man was. So there you go. I think it's completely fake. If anyone went along and said, well, I drove by there just to see, well, we had it removed by then, you know, so there's usually a little punchline at the end. So let me just read through it. I didn't read through this today. I know the Tory slogan is standing up for Britain. You can be sure that you can be sure that was chosen but purposefully, you know, it's a big joke. And they're listening to help of the Cern Abbas giant. Right. The Cern Abbas giant is protected by the National Trust, and fence surrounds the huge naked figure who clutches a club in one hand. Okay. Okay, we're all known to clutch a club in one hand from time to time. What do you reckon? Some historians believe the giant dates back to the time of Oliver Cromwell, while others think it was a Roman depiction of Hercules. Didn't Hercules hold up the earth on his shoulders, didn't they? Would I ever write about Hercules doing that? Hercules, okay. So let me just scroll down to see if my comment came through. No, only jobless liberals would have the time to do something so useless and childish. You know, no point in that. So that's pretty funny, isn't it? That is pretty funny. Again, clear message. And that was only yesterday, was it? Yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. So I don't hear many other people continually talking about Theresa May being a bloke, you know. So again, just full of sexual innuendos here. Standing up for Britain. What was the other one? Oh yeah, like another, a symbol of fertility for hundreds of years. And yeah, down his old man was Teresa. Oh, so what do you make of that? Well, I don't know. It's hysterical at this stage. As I pointed out the last time, don't know why these people aren't people who are into this aren't picking up on it. Maybe be warned off. I'm after losing the hangout. Am I? How did I lose the hangout? No, I didn't lose the hangout, but I lost. Oh no, there it is. Yeah, I didn't block Skyfly. I didn't block anybody. I didn't block anyone, but I don't trust him. I don't trust him, but I didn't block him. I don't think he's genuine and above the board. I haven't blocked anyone, man. So if no, I haven't blocked anyone. How do I unblock him? If I go to his site or something, if you want to put a link into your site, and maybe I don't know how I blocked it. Maybe there was I don't know. The only thing I can think of is there was a sort of a spam comment left. Someone was just advertising where to sell t-shirts, flat earth t-shirts and mugs and all that sort of stuff. And YouTube just asked me, do I want to approve the comment? And I said no, because I had no need for it. So that's the only that's the only thing that I've stopped. Hiya Dave, I played Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands at the start. It's a pretty long song, and I'm not sure how it came across, but that's all right. Yeah, you're right, Tom. You're right. No woman is that ugly. So listen, I'm just going to have a cigarette break for a second. So give me a second. Okay, it's another little song. My voice is a bit hoarse, but it should be all right. It's for Steve. I love you, Steve. I remember the time you played it, my love. Sorry. I once had love in my arms. She said she would never stray, but I was cruel. I treated her like a fool, and I threw it all away. mountains in the palm of my hand, rivers that ran through every day. But I was mad, I treated her so bad, and I threw it all away. Love is all there is, it makes the world go round. Love and only love can't be denied. It doesn't matter what you think about it, you won't be able to do without it. Take a tip from one who's tried. If you find someone who gives you all of their love, take it to your heart, don't let it stray. One thing's for certain, you will surely be hurt if you throw it all away. If you throw it all away. One thing's for certain, you will surely end up hurting if you throw it all away. If you throw it all away. If you throw it all away. So I started off picking it there, but it's sort of a bit too low, and I just ended up strumming it in the end. But not a great song, not a Bob Dylan song. So yeah, another thing I wanted to do, because this question keeps coming up again and again and again, just like the rest of the bowler questions. Let me just get a bit of light there. Yeah, like the rest of the bowler questions just keep coming up again and again and again. And no matter how many times you give a plausible explanation, it just won't be dealt with. They'll sort of take you back to square one and you'll have to start all over again. It's like they have all of their problems and questions listed, you know, so every opportunity they get, they'll come along, regurgitate the same problems that they have, or the same explanations that they give, you know, and yeah, it's just tiring at this stage. I mean, to see the likes of Isa, Ali, just giving free rein to these people again. It's not good for me anyway. It goes back to last year, you know. So I guess I'm gone beyond that. Other people, I don't think there's much. Well, there is stuff to be learned actually. You first of all, these people are exposed. Isa did a good job at exposing P. Mars today, for instance. But yeah, Isa has his own problems then as well. He labels me crazy for having my points of view on different conspiracies, which I've proven to myself. In the case of many of them, you know, it's not just idle talk or just crazy, fantastical notions that are being expressed. This is going where the evidence leads you, you know, which is the only place you can go. So anyway, what I wanted to do, just, and maybe flat earthers, some flat earthers aren't sure. The same question comes up again. Explain the sunset, explain the sunrise on a flat earth. Shouldn't you after the sun goes out of view be able to bring it back with your P900? Well, no, you shouldn't. No, you shouldn't. First of all, let's talk about land. There's always going to be a land barrier. So the sun, as it travels away, will go behind that barrier. So no, you know, that's just, whether it be a mountain barrier or whatever it is on land. Remember that if you have let's just say, I don't know, let's just say you're looking out and your field of vision is your field of vision, but if you have a big truck in front of you, you know, the back of the truck, that's going to take up a massive angle in terms of your field of vision as that truck. So everything else outside of that field of vision is obviously limited. As the truck travels away from you, that angle that it takes up in terms of your vision lessens and lessens, you know, and especially as you off into the far distance, even the highest of mountains is going to have a tiny acute little angle as you perceive it. But the sun is very capable of disappearing behind that. But here's the point of this, is to talk about the water barrier. So this is just a property of water. This is what happens at all times. Now we know about the different atmospheric conditions as well, which do play a role, of course. If you go out on a clear day, clear morning, clear evening, and look across the water, you might be able to see mountains or land 20, 30, 50, 100 miles maybe sometimes. You know what I mean? So it's, this is depending on the atmosphere. If you go out on a cloudy day, you'll find that horizontally you won't be able to look very far, because there's more moisture in the air, and that leads to blocking of your visual potential, I guess. You know what I mean? So you won't be able to see very clearly. But this is a property of water when we look over vast distances, and light is introduced. It's all about light. Without light, we wouldn't see anything. So yeah, how does the sun set? I'm going to go through it. I know you might have. I hope this comes up actually now. Why isn't that showing? Okay, I hope this comes up. I'm going to have to check. So after bringing up my avatar on Paint. So hang on, I have to present. I don't know how that's going to work now. Yeah, it doesn't matter if the link goes out. I don't care. Do what you want. No, that's not right now. I have to do this. How does that look? I have to... Shit, okay, I'm sort of switching between the watch page as well. No. That should come up now. I don't know why Paint isn't coming up. Maybe no, it's not coming up, is it? So I can just see, hang on, what am I looking at? Shit. Let me stop presenting for a second. So if I share my entire screen, maybe that'll work. If I just, okay, I have to present to everyone here as well. Yeah, that's it, isn't it? That's cool. So I think that's coming up. I have to just refresh the watch page here because is it, man? I don't think I have too many things open as well. Maybe I'll have to just, yeah, there you go. Okay, let me go back to, that's it, perfect. So that just involves sharing the whole screen. Okay, so how does the sunset work, right? So let me, this is fundamental as well. And when I realized this, it's so simple then, you know what I mean? And I don't think there's any argument against it, right? As we watch the sun going down, it's that the sun is going away. It's just traveling, continuing on its path, and this is what we should expect to see it, is to go down in the manner we do see it. It's because it is going away. It's just a matter of perspective. How does the sun disappear? How does the sun set? Well, and how come when the sun sets, you can't bring it back into view if it's just going away? Well, the answer is it's a physical barrier that you can't see beyond. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line across the screen, a few lines. If most, let me bring up a nice bright color. Maybe green. Maybe green will do it. It's all right. If any of us is asked to identify the horizon line here, what most of us would do is identify this line here. Yeah, that's perfect. That's a bit thick, actually, isn't it? Actually, I can just adapt that later. This line here. Actually, let me make that a bit thinner. I once had love in my arm. Right. Yeah, that's perfect. So we'd identify this line here, right? That's what our visuals tell us. And if the sun wasn't in that particular position that it's in now, if it was more early on, maybe an hour or two early on, that's we'd swear by it. We'd swear that was the horizon line, and anything going beyond that is going over the curve. Like that's what the ballers would say. But this is not true. This is not the real horizon. The real horizon line, and let me put that in black. No, I didn't want that in black. So let me go off this. Right. So the real horizon line is, we can tell by the sun. What we're seeing here is a reflection of the bottom section of, you can tell by the colors as well, of the bottom section of the sun, right? Now, what's happening here is the real water line, the real horizon line is going from the center point here all the way across the screen, right? And the same on the other side, all the way across the screen. Now, this is a property of water when viewed over a long distance when there is light introduced. And we know, again, I mentioned all this before, but now I have the visuals to go along with it. So yeah, we know we can see reflections in puddle. We know that once you go to mountain climbs or whatever and look over a lake, you can see the lake far side reflecting the mountain or whatever is beyond. So we know that water has these properties. Now, up to this green point, from the bottom of the picture here, up up to the green point, that might be something like 3 miles, maybe 5 miles, something like that. It's just dependent. It's not a great distance anyway. So this is the apparent horizon line. But as I said, the real horizon line is the black line, right? Because we can tell that on the basis of the sun being reflected. So all of this area, the area between the black line, let me put that in red. The area between, no, not right. The area between the black line and the green line, this whole area here, this is the distance we don't know. This could be, my best guess, it's maybe 50 miles, something like that. It could, it can be 20 miles, it can be 30 miles, but I think it's a substantial different distance, right? And we don't know that, though. We have to take that into account. Now, what we're viewing at is 50. So if we look at this red area that I'm filling in now, right, that is, again, let's just set it on the lower figure. Let's say 20 miles, 30 miles. That's 30 miles of water that we're looking at such an acute angle. You can tell the acuteness of the angle there. And of course, look, you can tell what I'm saying is from the cameraman to the visible horizon, the green line, and that's not going to be too distant. So but we can automatically tell, that the angle is much greater, look at the distance as opposed to the distance between the green and the black line. Now, as again, we'll settle on 30 miles. So this layer, which I have crossed in red here, is 30 miles long and acts like a perfect mirror. This is how water behaves. It's water compressed to such a degree that it acts like a perfect mirror. And this is just how our eyes work. This is how we function, So when we look out at the sunset, we can view the sun directly here. Or again, I think the sun is a focused reflection, but anyway, we can view the sun directly, but can also view it in the mirrored layer here is what I'm going to call it. So let me just undo the red marks. You can understand what that is now. So as we're looking out, everything between the black and the red line, everything. Now that means the clouds above here, the sun itself, and then the clouds above the other side, all the way across. Everything between the green and the black line is a reflection of just above here. I'll do another line across here and yellow maybe. Let me say just from, it doesn't have to be, you get the point, just about there. Yeah, that'll do. So everything between the green and the black line is just a mirror reflection of everything between the black and the yellow line, right? So as you imagine the sun continuing to go away, it will appear to us to go down. So we'll travel in the right direction and downwards direction, right? Until eventually, right, it'll be gone so far that the last thing we'll see on the water, right, this will go back to, because there's still some light here, all of this will go back to just reflecting the sky above. So the green and black will, between that layer, will be reflecting just immediately above it, between the black and the yellow. The sun will travel on its way, and the last thing we'll see is the very top of the sun here, reflected in the water, right? The minute that travels away, then we're left with, first of all, the light, is gone. So there's no contrast left to distinguish anything. So we just go back to seeing this green line again, and eventually then it just becomes dark because the angle that the sun makes to the land in our environment is too acute to be seen or to be reflected. And that's all. It's pretty simple, isn't it? I mean, that's what the sun disappears behind, and there's no bringing. No matter how much you could zoom back in, you can't bring it. Or zoom in, you can never bring it back into view. What you can do is rise up. As you rise up, the angle that you make, the observer, changes. It becomes less acute. And then you will be able to see as you rise up, you should be able to see the reflection first in the water, and as you continue to rise up, then you'll just see this picture again, sort of reversing time, if you will. And that's how the sun sets. It's also how the sun rises. The sun comes in from the distance, right? In reverse. This is all that's happening. It's just coming and going, remaining and going. This is all that's happening. And I don't see the difficulty here. I think this is the explanation for what's going on. And I can't see how it can be refuted. We can see this mirroring effect pretty much every picture when you're dealing with long distances over water. And again, it's not Fatima Morgana's. This is a direct reflection. This is just how water behaves. And we've all seen the water sparkling in the sunlight as well, So again, it's all got to do with light rays, the medium, which is water, and then the observer. This is just how things work, and for me, that's fully explained. It's now when you have at different times of the day in different atmospheric conditions, you're going to have different viewing conditions. But that stands to reason. This is the major factor here in why the sun goes away, and that's all it does. It disappears behind this mirroring plane, which is what it is. As I said, the distance between the green and the black line here could be anything. It could potentially be hundreds of miles, but I don't think so. I think you're talking, maybe 50 miles, something like that. Anyone who didn't understand that, maybe that helped you out a small bit, or maybe if there's any questions, I can address. So that's pretty much all I wanted to do with that, just to get clear. And any picture of the sun as well over distance, this is what we see. You will see the bottom, especially when the sun melds. I have a few other pictures here where you can see the sun melding almost into the visible horizon line here. But you will always notice that there is a mirroring point. So the sun will flare out at the end because it's mirroring a part of it above it. So I think this is clear, and you can be sure though that the ballers will keep coming back and go, well, explain the sunset on a flat earth, and well, it's explained, So I hope that helped. Let me just go back to chat. So yeah, that's coming through good. I can now use paint. That'll be handy. The sky could be a simulation, Billy. Could all be a simulation, couldn't it? I don't think so, though. I think there's definitely a solidity to everything, but it could be sort of a simulated solidity. We just don't know, and there's no way of really proving much. I think we have to intuit a lot here and entertain as many ideas as we can, really, and cast aside the ones that don't sort of agree with other findings or other knowledge or other places we're at. So all right, okay. Maybe why is my computer acting slow? Maybe I should shut down a few. I don't have anything going now. Maybe Mark. Yeah, okay. Sorry enough. That should be a bit better. Maybe I'll shut down Paint as well, if that should make it better. Maybe just if you're still having problems, just refresh. That should be cool. Hey Casper, how you doing, man? Another Limerick man in the house. County Limerick, you stress. Casper, it doesn't matter to me much. None of these fake boundary lines have any meaning, really, So, I saw that video. Quasi-luminous is made to walk the plank, to be cast overboard in a nice way, though. And I can sort of get it. In a sense. I know he's still producing stuff, and I have to say I'm sort of on his side, you know what I mean? He's dramatic and he is provocative and controversial, but I think it needs it. We need to shake people out of their slumber. When he talks about dead fiction, I'm aboard that. If you think you're the legal name, then you think you're a dead thing. The Vatican have your soul. Well, they have it in a sort of a metaphorical sense, a bit more than that as well. They actually have your blood from your soul print. This is what he's saying here, and we are dead fictions if we think we're the legal name. Blood does flow in our bodies, of course, and we are men. We can't be anything else, but it's just how we represent ourselves, unknowingly, unwittingly, ignorantly. This is the game, and maybe this is all part of the game as well, us finding out who we are in relation to everything else. Now, the one thing I was thinking as well, the government, all of these systems, they all apply to the world. They all apply to the financial world. They all apply to the physical world, if you will, or non-physical, as our world, the spinning, careering ball of given dimensions it's a fabrication. So, because at its core, it's a fabrication, everything associated with the running of this fabrication has to also be a fabrication. It's where corporations, corpse orations, speaking dead things come into play. And that's what the legal name is. And by us piloting that legal name on the sea of commerce, and us thinking that we are that vessel itself, well, then, you are misrepresenting yourself. And that's nobody else's fault, is it, but yours, And I think that's the way these people, whoever you want to call them, look upon this, that you were the one volunteering for all. You were the one who was by consent being part and parcel of this fabricated system from top to bottom. Everything, and isn't it? Yeah, everything is fabricated. I asked Ali, could he think of one area where our children are actually being taught the truth? And of course, coded. Everything is encoded, so there's always truth there. You know, their lies are based on truth. Even again with their ball, the ball is complete and utter lie, but it's based on truth. If you flip everything about the ball, not everything, but if you flip a lot of things, you get the flat earth and you get the model that we really do live on and the reality we do live on. So we can't be foolish to throw out all the lies. We have to take in all the lies actually to discover that they are lies and then decode them, if you will. You know, again, truth hidden in plain sight. So yeah, outside of that though, our children are just being told to fabrication on top of fabrication, every single topic in every single area, but again, all associated with the fabricated careering and spinning ball. So necessarily needs must it has to be fabricated, and yeah, that's exactly where we find ourselves now. You know, in this this fabricated realm. So yeah, everything associated with it, governments, institutions, the money system, the place itself, the model itself, the earth, the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, the galaxies, all fabricated. For me now, it's very simple. There's very few things at play, very few factors at work. It's a light show, and we do well to consider that. You know, we do well to consider that. So that's. I hope that anyone who's listening, that cleared up the little sunset demonstration there for you, how that's working. But yeah, it's clear. And again, we have yet to define the sun. The ballers like putting flat earthers all in the same box when they say, well, flat earthers say that the sun is 3,000 miles up and is 50 miles across. Well, some might say that, you know, some might say that. Everyone certainly doesn't say that. And I, even though I don't rule it out, I do rule it out because it's based on Euclidean geometry, and you can't triangulate lights using traditional geometry. You just can't do it. That's not how it works. So yeah, the idea of 3,000 miles away and 50 miles across, I think, comes from the Eratosthenes calculations. Eratosthenes talked about assuming the sun was very far away, massive in size. This is where he took it from there. He continued on then his calculations, and he's theorizing from that fixed starting point. But if you assume that the sun is close and local, then this is where if you do the math, then this is where the 3,000 figure comes out, and the 50-mile figure comes out as well. But again, that's inapplicable. You can't apply that to lights in the sky, which is what they are. So no, we know that the longitudinal and latitudinal systems are all fiction anyway. You know, if you're going to describe anything, you're just applying your own system to it. But we know that they're applied to a fictional thing, a non-reality. But they did choose the numbers carefully, and specifically 111.1 kilometers per degree of latitude. So I'm thinking they got that from somewhere. So I've been thinking for the longest time that, and that's on the basis of the GoPro rocket as well, but other things as well, just that it seems to be some sort of a set boundary at 100 kilometers, 100 kilometers, roughly about 60 miles. But I'm thinking maybe it's 111.1 kilometers, possibly on the average. But, you know, something like that. That's the distances that I'm happy enough with these days. And it could even be nearer. Dave Johnson talks about everything being 30 miles, between 30 and 40 miles away. That's a possibility as well, you know. Yeah. So, you know, depending on how you describe the sun, depending on your initial assumptions or your initial premises, well, that'll take you into many different places. And yeah, I think that a lot of people, actually, there's another thing, a lot of people seem to be distancing themselves from the Gleason's map now. I wonder why that is, Del. I wonder why that is. I thought that was brilliant what you said, Joe, with the Charlie Hebdo and all the fucking looter bones, all the nutters, all the gobshites going around with "I am Charlie." You know, what are you Charlie for? What are you doing? You know, first of all, you're defending a pretty terrible publication, you know, which was just about race baiting and provocation and pretty much everything that they did. But second of all, then you're defending this in the midst of defending a completely hoax affair, a completely faked terror event, you know, which is sort of fake on the surface of it. So by you holding up that picture, I am Charlie, you definitely are a clown. You definitely are a fool. You definitely are deserve to be ridiculed in a sense. And there's no better ridicule than self-ridicule. But yeah, I think that's what the Gleason's map is doing as well, in a sort of encoded way. It's telling us that if you fall for the Gleason's map and you have it up on your wall, you're kind of saying, I am Dodo. So not everything about it has to be thrown out. But yeah, it's definitely not correct. And again, as I said, a lot of people are distancing themselves from it. It'd be interesting to look into, again, who were the first to sort of promote and display the Gleason's map. Again, naming out a few names: Antonio Subrat's in my mind, Martin Liedtke, Patricia Steer, Mark Sargent never did it, I don't think. Yeah, many others as well. You know, so a lot of them, some would have instigated it, you know, and started spreading it, but others then would have just jumped on the bandwagon. All who jumped on the bandwagon and have that map up on their wall, I can laugh at that possibility, even if it's not so. Anyway, I definitely laugh at it, that I am Dodo. Yeah. Because you sort of have a lie on the wall and you don't realize it, but you also have the truth on the wall and you don't realize it if you sort of carry the lie or break down the lie and use the parts that are usable and useful. So that's interesting. Oh, Casper, don't talk to me about that, man. Is he up for the new leader? Is he up for the Taoiseach now? Is he Leo Varadkar, the first gay non-Irish ethnic leader of ERA? Is he non-Irish? He's Jewish, isn't he? A free state of just a century. Don't lie well with me. No, man, it doesn't. It doesn't. He came out before out of the closet, Casper, before the gay vote or the gay marriage vote and all this. And you could tell straight away it was just an act. He's a character, and I don't know. I don't like him at all. I don't like what they're doing to our children as well, in terms of the sexualization of our children. I hate it, actually. And these people have no fucking authority. They really don't, you know, but everyone gives them authority. I can't see what I'm saying this to myself as well. What else? Like, you know, you can be sure, Casper, that the likes of me and you will be put on some list somewhere, you know, especially with this more bullshit terror in England. And apparently there was a driver that came from Ireland, or the car that came from Ireland or something. So they're talking about more stringent and restricted laws coming into Ireland again. You know, this is the way it's going. This is all these things apply to the legal name. They apply to their fantasy, their fiction, not to us, the living, you know. But again, are we being set up, you know, with the flat earth to be identified as these radicalists? Or I'm sure these people don't even believe in science. These people don't believe that the earth is even round. How much more fucking crazy can you get, you know, than to not believe the earth is round and to follow all the evidence, all the evidence and all the truths that's ever been presented to us in our lives. You know, this is a crazy questioning of such a fundamental thing that you have to be radical, and you have to be radicalized. You have to be a supporter of terrorism when you say that there's no terror, when you say that there's only hoaxed event, you know. So that's one way, that's one dark way I could see it going. But I don't like this character Varadkar at all. And the other one in the running, is it Fitzgerald? Mary Fitzgerald? It's not Mary Fitzgerald. Someone Fitzgerald. Pretty sure she's a man. Not that I looked into it too much, but just got that impression. Had a few looks at her just with this in mind, because Ireland doesn't escape. They'll tell you about the biggest Freemasonic lodge in Europe in Ireland. So yeah, plenty of shit going on in Ireland as well. But yeah, this is what we're dealing with now, and what to do about it, I don't know. This is abuse in the extreme for children. You know, it really is. There's no other word for it. This is horrendous. If you think about all the thousands and thousands and thousands of children now in schools. Fitzgerald, is she a Kennedy? She could be now, actually. Mum, you can be sure they're all connected. No, she's not Fitzgerald, is she? I can't remember her name now anyway, but maybe she could be now, you know. Yeah, this is the way it works. But yeah, this is the future our children are in for, where everything they know is a lie. Fuck it, is that good enough for us, is it? What do we fucking do about it, though? What do we do about it? It's not good enough for any children. It's not good enough for my child. It's not good enough for any of our children. The Kennedys were from Tipperary. That's another, Del talked about before it. 3 things that everyone had in their house growing up in Ireland. Picture Kennedy on the wall. Picture the Pope on the wall. I think Del said about the Titanic as well. We definitely had a picture of the Titanic on the wall. My father painted it. So, all fabrications. JFK, the biggest fabrication going, Again, it's only when you look into it. And you go through the layers. This is where the truth lies. This is where all of those conspiracy layers, this is what they're hiding, which is the ultimate truth, that it's all fucking stagecraft. It's all theater. And far from being a president of the people, John F. Kennedy was the exact opposite. It's the same with Bobby Kennedy. Bobby Kennedy, another fake staged affair. Exit stage left, just bit players in the overall game. Bit players in the grander movie, and still around. There was evidence to suggest that Jimmy Carter and JFK were one and the same, and I definitely take that seriously. There might have been a real Jimmy, well, who knows who's real or not, but Jimmy Carter at the start, then switched out, JFK playing the role. Again, JFK was an actor himself, so it's like Bill Hicks, don't take the original as being the real man, because these are roles that these people play throughout their lives, and who knows what types we're dealing with here, honestly. And anything becomes possible in flat Earth. Who knows what types we're dealing with here? I don't know. But yeah, that's even those 2 statements, Bobby Kennedy, and then there was the other JFK Jr., the plane crash over Martha's Vineyard, and then all the different conspiracy tags associated with that, attached to that. So again, I'm just sure it's all par for the course. Same sort of shit going on. Just more theater. Again, yeah, they have us all stuck in the literal, and that's what the ballers want you to do as well. Get you stuck in the literal. Get you stuck in officialdom. Get you stuck in the status quo. But we can't leave them, because our reality is exactly the opposite from what has been presented to us. So yeah, none of these guys are they're sort of back in force again. You have the likes of Isa inviting everyone in to his chat, and inviting people on to his hangout. You have the same in a few different hangouts. We had Antonio and Vincent doing a fundraising for Candy last night. I mean, Jesus, I already called Candy out as an actor, I should say, on the stage. She's friends. She admits to being friends with Zulu One and Brian and Wesley, and all these people have admitted associations with law authorities, law enforcement. So yeah, just playing a part. She's only near a few months, and she's getting donated to and fundraising for, which is fine. I don't give a shit really, but yeah, it doesn't sit right with me, and that's why I asked Vincent in chat today. I don't know what he talked about. If you're listening, Vincent, did you say you raised 2,500 euros, or did you say that you yourself gave 2,500 euros? I wasn't sure what you were talking about. But that's a pretty substantial amount of money, and I guess if your conscience is clear doing all this sort of stuff, that's cool. I'm not going to get too involved. I'm pretty sure that Pancho Pete, I'm not going to like the smell of that, So otherwise, I never make any judgments against the man or the woman, but I do know that this flat earth arena is fucking infested. It's infiltrated with actors, an actor being somebody who is, I'm not an actor. Someone said that maybe I'm the biggest actor. I still said that today as well. If Pete Shea was acting his part, that'd be cool. It'd be funny, because it'd be such a good character to play. Well, no. There's no part being acted here, man. And I don't see how I'm provocative, really, or controversial. All I'm telling anyone is to look at the evidence, look at the research, and make up your own mind then. What's so provocative about that? Whereas these characters will have you stuck again in the main story. Isa, that's a connection, isn't it? Isa, again, not to speak too much about him, but anyone mentions 9/11, he was in New York, but he just says, were you there? How can you know about it? Well, I mean, how the fuck can we know anything then? How'd you get into conspiracy, Isa? If you said to yourself, well, I can't know anything or comment on anything if I'm not there. This is ridiculous, you know what I mean? And again, like the moon landings, Ali could be right. Man could have landed on them. No, I'm not saying that, but I know that they can't. You can't land on the light. But potentially man could have landed on the moon. But just the images and the pictures and photographs presented to us have been proven fabricated. So they might have did it behind the scenes somewhere. Well, anything is possible like that. Same at 9/11, 3,000 people could have really been killed, but behind the scenes, not in terms of any of the visual evidence that was presented to us. That has been proven, fabricated, 100%. At this stage, 100%. And all the research and evidence is there. You have to make a call at some stage. We understand that we can't know a story unless we're there. And if we're not there, though, we're obviously limited. But we are going on what is presented to us. And when you can discredit that and expose that, well, that's a battle in itself. If something else might have really happened, then, is that unknowable to us? I would say yes. How will we know if a man landed on the moon, for instance, if Ali is right? What can we use? There's nowhere we can go to evaluate that statement, or that idea. So there's no point in entertaining it. I'm happy enough with them, like the moon landings. Yeah, they faked it. They faked it because you can't go to the moon. It's not something. It's like if you ever watch the Batman movie and you have the Batman light shining, is sort of hanging from the sky, if you will. You can't go to that. You couldn't send a man up to land on the Batman light. Well, this is the same as the moon for me, and especially what I've come to realize recently. So it's an impossibility. It's just not something that can happen. So this is the position that we have to take as investigators. Go with the evidence that's presented and research as much as you can. Until you're satisfied. And when you look into any of these, they're goading us as well. I mean, especially with the later hoaxes, they're just making it absolutely clear to anyone who's investigated Sandy Hook, for instance, or any of the later hoaxes, or even especially to anyone who's investigated the earlier hoaxes, which were more difficult to unravel, but unraveled nonetheless. The hoaxes these days are just instantly recognizable as hoaxes, and it's almost like they're making a mockery of everything, with how easy it is to expose it and just how ridiculous the official stories are, So again, I won't be trusting people who come along and take this lightweight sort of approach to dealing with media fakery. Sure, there's certain topics that are appropriate for certain areas. If that's stressed, that's fine. But Jesus, I mean, in general, when we have open forums or open discussions, this should be one of the first things that's mentioned, media fakery. Because our whole fucking basis for believing in this reality is based on media of one form or another. So if media fakery is a prevalent thing, and if it's a pervading thing, the truth wants to know about it, doesn't he? And call it out. I don't want my child or anyone else's children being exposed to this fake terror, and putting the fear of God in them. This is all abuse. This is all mind torture. This is the real terror. So I mentioned it before. Us flat earthers, or sort of separate flat earth is the top, really. It's one of the biggest conspiracies, but it ties in everything else as well. So we have to sort of embrace other conspiracies, not embrace them, recognize them, speak about them, and incorporate them into our movement forward. This is about all our lives at the end of the day, all our children's lives. These things need to be exposed. So anyone coming along saying I'm a crackpot, or anyone talking about media hoaxery as a crackpot, has to be looked at, because again, you don't get to flat earth without having some level of scruples about you, about having some sort of a curious nature, and about having some sort of investigative mindset, So when you come along and call someone crazy for pointing out, for instance, in the Westminster hoax a few weeks ago, that's a dummy under a bus. When you're called crazy for that, then the person who's calling you crazy, if he's a flat earther, needs to be looked at, That's all. So okay, let me go back to chat for a minute. This is flat Earth has become a hodgepodge again. I predicted it back in with the Oroville thing and Kyrie Irving coming out, that characters are going to come forward within flat Earth, and to beware. This is all scripted and it's all been laid out before. So now you have big character IPS. Yeah, he's definitely again IPS I9 P16. S19, so you have 91619 read the same backwards as forwards. This is 9/11 encoded on all levels. So none of this is incidental. So he's an actor on the stage. And again, I don't make any judgment against the man, just calling him out. And you learn more, again, geez, I feel like I'm repeating myself, you learn more from what people won't talk about than what they will. He talk about flat earth, he talk about 9/11 media fakery and a complete victim fakery, but not a mention of legal name fraud, not a mention of the North Pole Centre, So, am I buffering good out tonight, Del? Shit, maybe I'll go down and, what can I do there? Okay, I'll just get rid of a few tabs, maybe. That's pretty much, I'm down to pretty much, actually, I get rid of one more. Yeah, that's cool. So we have, let me just, okay, Del, I hope that's better now. So, passion for flat earth, how you doing? So I'm just reading your account for the first time. It could be good or bad. I see what I automatically, with the capital letters, assume it's bad or negative in some sense, but maybe I jumped the gun. Yes, that's right. Okay. He says, yes, that's right. I followed Pete Shea long enough. His yarns will keep my tummy warm like Ready Break. I'm all for Pete. At least he is not begging money. I'm sickly shill. No, I don't want any money. I don't want any. And if I couldn't pay my internet bill, what would I do? Well, I wouldn't come on here looking for money. I'd find another way about it, And it's yeah. I don't know. I don't like the idea as well. As I said, Candy Franklin. I called her out. I don't care. I called her out. What am I going to do? What does she come in? She comes in and talks. It's like women sort of. I don't again say this, but it's like small talk, all this sort of stuff. Nothing serious broach. Same as Zulu One. Ask him some of his points of view on different things. Like he's pretty much lightweight flat earther. His heart isn't it, but he won't talk about any other conspiracies. No, man. These people, you have to ask questions of these people. Why not? Why am I an étranger, an outsider for asking questions and obvious questions? If there's a liar in the group, if I'm dealing with the group in real life and there's a liar in the group, I'm going to try question them and try find out who the liar is, because it upsets the apple cart. There's pretty much nothing more important than flat earth. And there are all those people. Zulu One, he talked about 9/11. His brother found a head. Well, I'm going back to the mainstream story. I'm going back to the official narrative. Zulu's brother found a head. So, that's proof enough for me. I don't need to hear any more, man. 9/11 carried out by Osama bin Laden, not Obama, Osama. 4 planes did crash that day and brought down 8 buildings. Even 2 of the planes crashed in different places. 8 buildings brought down. So that seems perfectly reasonable now and rational to me. It didn't before, but since I found out about Zulu One's brother finding a head on 9/11, my mind has changed. I no longer now take seriously all of that research that I've done, shown all the different ridiculous stories. Willie Rodriguez story, what about the guy who carried the woman out of? That's hilarious, man. Let me just tell you this briefly. It's one of the 9/11 documentaries where your man walks up into he's looking at 9/11 from afar and he walks up into the mayhem, you know what I mean? So he's sort of interviewing people coming and going, more so coming from the disaster area. But there's one particular guy, he's in a blue shirt. I might look for that clip actually because it's hilarious. Not an ounce of sweat, beautiful day, not an ounce of sweat, beautiful button tied up to the top. I think he had a tie and shirt, not an ounce of sweat, armpits grand, neckline grand, no sweat on his collar or on his forehead or anything. So the guy is interviewing him. What happened? He's coming along saying, well, blah, 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 blah. And he was caught inside the building. He just made it out. So his story was that he was up, whatever. I'm not doing this exactly accurately, but something similar to this. He was up maybe at the 70th floor. The plane crashed and made his way down. Lo and behold, he came across somebody on whatever floor. He was in a wheelchair and the lifts were out of order. It couldn't work. So he ditched the wheelchair and he carried the girl down to floor 30 or something. So let's say 30 or 40 flights. And then he said he just left her there and made his way out. And I'm going to myself, well, fuck me, like, why even tell that story in the first place? You're going to make yourself look bad for the rest of your life. Anyone who questions you on this story, you're going to say, well, you tried to save a woman in a wheelchair, but you got too tired at the 30th floor and just left her there. And then you walked out, saved your own skin, and are now doing this interview minutes later, mind you, supposedly. And, spinning us this yarn. And again, you're bone dry. Imagine imagine this sweat bucketing off and you carrying a dead weight down all those number of floors, you know. Nonsense, ridiculous, you know. But I've gone back to believing that now. Again, that guy is, damn, I could see the truth now in his armpits. And I was mistaken before, but so thanks to Zulu's brother who found a head on 9/11. So, you know, that's fucking cleared everything right up. You know, I found my head in a way, you know. Someone lost theirs on the day, obviously, as testified by Zulu One's brother, but I'm after finding my head on the basis of that lost head. So in a way, if that head wasn't lost, my head wouldn't be found. So, appreciated very much by me, my greater being, you know, who was on the search for truth and justice, I guess. And now I can finally rest. What am I going to do with the rest of my life now? Yeah, you know. So this is, but none of them, they all agree with me. Vegan Warrior agrees with me. Another cop, he has associations with law enforcement. Yeah, you're not supposed to ask any questions. You know, I couldn't believe how much Vegan Warrior agrees with me then, you know. At one point then when we were talking, he was all on board the hoaxes, all on board the victims. But at one point then, he sort of went silent momentarily. Sure, he was off camera as well. Whatever happened, he comes back then he says, well, after agreeing that victim fakery is likely complete or something along those lines, he comes back and says, well, firefighters would have died though. They would have killed people to reel up the situation. I'm going, well, this is sort of a contrary position you're taking relative to just a few short minutes ago. So then it went downhill from there on, and eventually he ended up muting me and just getting pissed off. So again, it was, I reckon someone called him or something, said, hey man, you can't go there. You gotta sort of protect the victims. There has to be victims. So yeah, that's where he went with that. And fair enough, I guess. But look, anyone looking into 9/11 now, excuse me, you won't see one body on 9/11. You won't see one. You know, you see a few afterwards, you know, on pictures that were put up. All you gotta know as well, photo Michael Judd, victim number 1. You see about 6 firefighters carrying him out. Photoshop, you know, again, metaphor, representative, photo Michael Judge, you know, all this stuff. This is all the stuff we have to leave behind if we're to take Zulu One's testimony, brother's testimony on board, you know. But yeah, the reason I got onto that, Isa, he was there in New York, but he says he wants to punch my face in, talking about 9/11 media fakery, 9/11 victim fake, and that's only in the back of research I came to these conclusions, you know. So why you want to punch my face in? But at the same time then, he's cozying up with IPS and they're getting involved in some sort of a personal meeting where they're discussing, I don't know, the future of flat earth, how we're going to merchandise it, how we're going to make money out of it. And yeah, all friends and cozy. But hang on, IPS is exactly the same position as I do. That 9/11 was a media hoax with no death. So how does that work out, Ice? Because you're speaking out through both sides of your mouth. But I already called IPS out as an actor, and of course I call Isa out as an actor as well. Some of the things that they won't talk about, that we learn that anyone who is genuine is unrestricted. Anyone can tell me, oh God, I think maybe if I pull out the chat and get rid of the watch page, is that coming through okay? Yeah, that seems all right. Okay, hopefully the stops aren't too intrusive. But yeah, any honest investigator fears nothing. There's no area that you won't talk about. You know, you realize that some areas are more sensitive than others, but yeah, if you're into the truth, then everything is on the table. And a lot of things have been said about me, been attacked a lot these days, you know. And but that's fine. It's like water off the duck at this stage. It sort of affects you as well in some way. You know, we all have sensibilities. So when you're constantly being called things, and sometimes it's scandalous, slanderous stuff, like, you know, Mark Taylor has said stuff about my child, has said stuff about me, etc. You know, you have to have a sort of a thick skin. But yeah, anyone who has any suspicions, well, tell me something that I refuse to talk about, or tell me something I shy away from. You know, so this is the thing, and that's what I meant. But when I said that, if we're suspicious of people, what won't they talk about? The Zulu One won't talk about anything. They really won't. Very little, anyway. You know. I'm not picking him. Again, all he was forthcoming with the information he was forthcoming with. He produced a badge. I was sure it was an FBI badge. I haven't looked back then, and he said it's one of my proudest things. But it's some sort of a connected badge to law enforcement, and he turns out to be an ex-cop. You know, when you're ever an ex-cop, you know, you keep in contact with all your friends, and you know, one of the police scanners went off when he was on air one night. You know, all this sort of stuff. And I definitely think we're being monitored. And I fuck them. I don't give a fuck who's monitoring who. For me, no one has anything on me, Del. They really don't. And these people have no authority. They have none. They've already been called out. And when a fraud is revealed as well, that's it. All contracts are null and void now and then. Legal name fraud has been revealed. With Flat Earth comes a different realm, different forces in play, and most of us have not gone back to a creator, but realized logically, spiritually, and intrinsically that there is a creator there. We could be the creator ourselves. Who knows? We could be role playing, but I think that is the natural place to go back to now in terms of defining this creator. Well, that becomes an impossibility, and I think it's folly to sort of place any sort of descriptions or any attributes to the creator. I think it's just something we have to know in our hearts. We're not be thinking with our brains. Of course. Yeah. I mentioned a few dangerous groups. I wouldn't be surprised if ISIS is Jewish, by the way. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the others are as well. And I have this problem with Jewish people in the sense that, again, I'm not taking anything as gospel. I know that pretty much everything has been fabricated. I'm of the mind that the Bible is fabricated now just to support the idea of the ancient Middle East. If that was not a reality, and I don't think it was, I don't think it was at all. I think our history goes back 400 odd years, and before that everything was different. And where you find the desert areas now, this is where we had the giant supporting trees, in my view. And now we have all the sand areas, miles and miles upon sand strewn throughout the world. This is where the destruction of the giant trees and the dust of the destruction, if you will, is scattered. But the ancient Middle East has to be faked, and this is where the Bible comes in, and to take attention away from the North Center. I've talked before about the Bible, Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 being different stories, not a retelling of the same story. And we have different gods. We have God in Genesis 1 and Lord God in Genesis 2. That is made clear, and the stories themselves are different. So when we sort of attribute names and attribute attributes, when we give attributes to our gods, well, then we're blindfolded, really. We're putting our faith and trust in something that we don't know, and I think that's folly as well. So, the Jewish crowd are the chosen people of Lord God, according to the Bible. Now, Lord God, I think, is responsible for this destruction. Yeah, and I've pointed out before, in the Sistine Chapel roof, Lord God and his troop, where you usually have the brain, and again, I see it as a symbolic as well in a way, but it could be literal. When you have the brain superimposed over the troop of Lord God, people were saying that's Michelangelo's coded way of telling us that God is in our brain. No, I don't take it like that. I think there's another layer to it. Reptilian is in our brain. Talked about parasites earlier on. Is this reptilian parasite within our brain? We have a reptilian brain stem. Is this what we need to overcome by hanging on to our vital fluids? I'm thinking possibly it could be symbolic or it could be actually literal. But when you overlay a cross section of a reptile head over the troop of Lord God, it fits perfectly. And that's something I'm going to talk about the next time. Actually, I'll get up the painting itself, fresco itself, and go through it. When you zoom it, each component of the Lord God and his troop, the one where he's reaching out, almost touching Adam's finger. Each component fits pretty well with the cross section of a reptile skull, down to the extended fang, the outstretched arm of Lord God, which is not quite touching Adam. It's just, here again, it's representative of something. There's still hope for all of us. We can save ourselves, redeem ourselves. We can rise again. But I think it's something. It's internal. This 33 comes into it. Then we have to raise that fluid up the vertebrae and let it sort of take over our brains. I may maybe explode a pineal gland or something like that and kill all of this parasitical power or force or whatever it is. That's the way I see that. But Lord God is responsible for the destruction Yeah, and that's the Jewish Lord God, of course. Now, the question I haven't been answered satisfactorily is, is my child a low, and I'm going to say lowly animal, because animals aren't lowly for me, but are we considered lowly animal to the Jewish people? And the answer was, I got yes, but there's different ways of thinking within the Jewish, like, is it dogma from the start, from the very get-go? Is that just a tenet of the faith that can't be altered? The Jews are higher than everyone else, and then you have at the lowest level us. Well, I haven't gotten an answer to that, and people seem to be very coy about answering that. So I don't. What am I supposed to do with that? Anyone who does think that of me, of course, I got to cast them aside, because I'm not better than anyone. Nobody's better than me, or same with my child or anyone I love or anyone I think on, we're all equal. But if this mentality is bred into you, and of course the Jews could be put front and center as well. There's this ongoing Jews versus Jesuits debate. And I don't know what to make of it myself. Of course, there's a big reptilian theme surrounding the Vatican and all the surrounding buildings as well. So whether it's symbolic or literal, not quite sure. Maybe a bit of both. Is this situation ongoing? Is there a resistance force against this destructive power in the first place? Another thing that occurred to me regarding the Bible is the rainbow, God's covenant with man after the flood. There'd never be a flood again. I understand why. There's a rainbow now after the destruction. And again, I'll have to keep that for another time, because that involves talking about what the sun really is. And all makes sense again. And the thing is, again, that the Bible being faked is to give credence to this ancient Middle East, or fabricated history, when in reality, none of it was in existence. And the North Center was where the true home is, where the true paradise is, or where the true destination is, if you will. So again, everything is flipped from a cold, what we view as being a cold area. They move focus of attention to a blisteringly hot area, So these are the dangerous forces that I recognize within flat Earth, and the Bible literalists as well. The Bible literalists hate the giant trees. They hate them. They hate them. And again, I know why they hate them now. But they'll have you stuck in the fantasy as well, in the fabrication. They'll have you cast aside one of the products of the church, but they'll have you cling to a different one. And no, not buying that. Not buying that. And you can be sure that whatever powers are at play have anticipated all of this. All of it has been anticipated, if they're not at the head of rolling it out and leading it. So that's the way I definitely entertain these thoughts anyway. And me myself, I went down to the local priest here, who is a representative of this faction, this dastardly organization, and I cancelled all contracts. And I think I did it for my son as well, because my son was baptized, even though I wasn't there, because I didn't agree with it. I didn't at the time I said it specifically as well. I'm not religious. I will not sign up for something that I don't have the authority to, first of all, in terms of me putting my son, my beautiful son, to a situation just because I believe something, which I didn't even believe anyway, And second of all, I think, like most of us would probably think here, that's not something to rush into. Consider everything and then join what you want when you're of a certain age, you know what I mean? So I cancelled all contracts with the local priest, and he was acting for me as a sort of representative of that power that we were all signed away to. I think more important than the birth certificate in a way is the baptismal certificate. Why do we here's another thing, why do we you get your head dunked in water, or you're baptized with water? What's that about? Now, I've talked about the inundation, I've talked about the Holy See. So I think they're claiming jurisdiction on the waters, on the invading waters, So all the vessels, when you're a legal name, you're a vessel on the waters, the seas of commerce. So that's where they're claiming their jurisdiction, and anything that's lost at sea, they can claim. We're of the land, we're on the land. So I think that's what we might be doing to our children when we baptize them, just devious, and it's sort of perpetuated then between different generations. But now this is the generation where it all changes. I'm thinking, pretty sure of it as well. This is all leading up to something and 420 comes into that as well. 42. I think 42 is like is subservient to 420. 420 is the thing. But yeah, this is about us cancelling all these contracts. Anywhere there is a contract made and you don't want to be part of it, well then, we've realized illegal name fraud, and you can get out of it that way. You were tricked. You weren't the perpetrator of this crime or the con. So by standing in your own shoes, that's what you can do. I pretty much disassociated myself from everything in life, really. Pretty much everything, So I don't have any contracts with anyone or anything. Now, that doesn't make, living life, it actually makes living life very difficult. And especially knowing what I know as well. I know me and my son and everyone pretty well. No, I'm not going to say, I don't know everyone. I don't know. I like to think everyone's in paradise already. I know that in my heart, me and my son are in paradise already. And whatever we're going through here is I'm taking it as necessary part in something or other, So, but knowing all this stuff makes it more difficult to be a part of this construct, whatever it is, as if it wasn't difficult enough. But we live in amazing times, I think, and the truth is coming out in bucket loads. The truth is already out there. So we do well to be aware of these things. And look, everyone goes away at the end of the day and deals with their own thoughts and deals with their own feelings and deals with their own past, present, and future. And this is all I view these type of hangouts as. Just a little chat, maybe a bit of information that you mightn't have heard before. I'll definitely mention again because I mentioned it before. But some things might slip in there that were worth hearing. If not, it doesn't matter, does it? Doesn't matter. It's just what else would we be doing? Watching television, So, Del, it's all connected. Doctor. It's all about the vessel on the sea. The legal name is a vessel, and the vessel is owned by someone else. The vessel is owned by the Crown Corporation / the Holy See. And again, I'm connecting it all back because this is all recent history. Nothing we know of history is true according to official stories. Nothing. And especially the bigger the event, the more untrue it's likely to be. So this is recent history. So it takes on a new meaning then. It's much more up close and personal. So this inundation, again, I think I take it's not too hard to imagine as well. The Mediterranean, dry out the Mediterranean Sea. You can see a different topography being a reality. And I talk about 20% water, which I think was fresh water as well, and 80% land. And again, if it's only back a few hundred years, what are we going to do about it? And they rule by deception. This is the only way they can rule. I think they're afraid. It's not that they're afraid. Maybe they're only playing a bigger role as well in everything that's going on, but they know our true powers. And we don't appeal to man for our powers. We don't appeal to anyone for our powers. They were given to us, creator given. And we just have to recognize that. Come hell or high water, death is not the end. Absolutely sure of it. It's one great thing. I guess it's scary as hell as well thinking about eternity. But again, time is broken. Time is an effect of a broken system. So under perfect conditions, time would have a completely different or no meaning. So these are all aspects associated with this broken system, or the broken sun, as I describe it, that we're living under. So the thoughts of eternity in this realm anyway. Scary. Thoughts of infinity are scary, But again, all things being right, these things don't come into consideration. But we are something different. We are something special. We just don't know it. So it's up to us to stand up in any way possible. You can still listen. You can use the legal name. This is what I'm thinking now. Invoke the laws of necessity. You have to know the relationship between you, the legal name, and the owners of the legal name, right? So we know it's illegal to use a legal name, but the laws of necessity were to live according to society, or just the way it's structured at the minute, then it's almost necessary for us to use the legal name. But so we can use it and not use it when we choose, but we have to know our relationship to it and its relationship to its owner. And that's what it is. It's a legal vessel. If you think you're the legal name, John Doe, that's why they name ships, don't they? You give the ship a name. That's what it is. It's a legal vessel that you can either foolishly, the most foolish thing to do or to think is that you are the legal name. So you are the legal vessel. That's just silly, and of course you can't be a legal vessel, a sailing vessel, fictional or real. You can only be a man, flesh and blood, but you can't represent yourself. You can wear a suit. You can put on a disguise or something. But yeah, this is it. This is fundamental. Recognizing the relationship between you, the living man, legal name, which is a legal vessel, and you, and you can maneuver your way around that. Now, ideally, all of this shit is done away with, and I think it is being done away with. You know, this truth is out there, and like the flat Earth truth, it can only but grow. It really can only but grow. You know, and when you realize the implications of your freedom from the legal name, it is mind-boggling. I think it is mind-boggling, and yeah. I mean, just try it out. You know, take it slowly. Take it in your own time. Write to do your YouTube research. Write to your electricity company and ask them for tell them about the legal name. Ask them for a true bill as opposed to a statement. You know, you can't pay anything off a debt. If you owe me 100, right, and you give me a note which is an IOU for 100, well, how does that work? You're not paying me back in anything. You're just saying that I owe you 100. You still owe me the 100. All I have is the IOU. But again, people that put value in the IOU in the note where there is none. Again, this note is all part and parcel of the fictional mod. Look, what did they use to make them? This is the other thing that's going on as well. Trees. There's still, what did they make the money out of? The trees. They cut down trees and made money. You know, they like fucking cutting down trees. So yeah, this is what it's all about. So just to talk about flat Earth all the time and not mention any of these other things, that's not workable for me. It's not realistic. It's not what we should be doing, you know. Flat Earth is our home, you know. There are many doors behind the initial door of that mansion, but always present is us, is me, you know. And this is the real focus. So we can know about the shape of the Earth all we like, and if we don't know about ourselves, then what's the point, you know? What's the point? It is, Del. It's Wednesday AM now. It's 0021 in Ireland, and actually it'll be bright in about 3 hours, or the sun will be coming right back around. So after the sun went down, and in the height of summer, the sun will go down at about 11:15 here, 11:15, and will rise and back up again, maybe 4:45, 4 o'clock. That's 4 hours. Again, I could go through that on the dodo. It takes a closer track, you know. It takes the inner track, if you will, of the contour barrier. That's what the sun does throughout the year. It moves from one tropic to another tropic, you know, the Tropic of Capricorn. I don't think the equator exists as well as described. Nothing exists as described. The sun moves from one tropic of Capricorn, which I think is sort of the end of the curve of the contour of the dome or the barrier at the far side, and then it moves from there all the way up to the Tropic of Cancer, and just repeats that. Isn't it funny that it takes 1 year for the sun to do that up and back, but the moon does it once a month? Isn't that funny now? So again, the moon is interconnected with the sun, and the more I go on, the more I do realize that, you know. So let me just have a look at the comments again. Del is making a prediction. Are you, Del? Jeff Moore Street Theatre and Film at 11 o'clock tomorrow in the UK. Not sure what's going on then. Is it election time? Not sure. So imagine Varadkar got in, you know, homosexual, openly homosexual, not even Irish. So is that what you said? So we have this character, and clueless. He did shit at everything. The health system. I could tell you a story. It happened to me relatively recently about the health system. Scandalous, man. It's absolutely scandalous. So everything he's touched is a failure. So yeah, don't like it one bit. So we have this character in charge here in Ireland. He's in charge of fuck all, first of all, but yeah, whatever. And then in England we have this Terry May. Terry May declares the example of a man dressed as a woman yet. Yeah. You know, this is bizarro. This is bizarro. And then when you have that story like the penis on the giant man on the hillside, and Teresa, you know, they're mocking us. Is it just like it could be just to demoralize you. It could also be, you know, I can see a point where everything is revealed, you know, and then we look back at these things and we go, fucking hell, man, how come I didn't spot it? You know, it was made clear to us on many different fronts. But yeah, not good. So I know, man. I know, Casper. It's the bullshit in the Irish papers and the Irish media regarding London terror. It's nonsense. You can't mention it to anyone. You're nuts if you mention it. You're nuts. It's gone more extreme, if anything. And I think they're ramping it up as well. They're coming in, talking to the people who are listening and taking heed of the news. They're talking about radicalism. They're talking about internet site support, you know, internet personality supporting this terror. terror. People like us who are denying this terror are sympathizers. We're not deniers, we're sympathizers. So you can't be a sympathizer if you say, how can you sympathize with something that's not real? That's how they label us. And then to sort of add extra weight to the allegations, they'll throw in flat Earth. These people think the Earth is flat. This is how fucking backward they are. They're like cave dwellers, cave dwellers. So this is what we're up against. What to do about it? To do about it. To do about it. I don't know. I think ultimately you have to be willing to give everything up because there is a greater story going on here, but it's not easy. Speak about the least you can do. I've said it before anyway. What to do about it? Well, if you can't play a good game, right, and you can't talk a good game, at least think a good game. That's something you still have freedom to do. So think in your higher mind. Let that truth and let that fearlessness pervade your mentality. If you can speak about it, then great. And if you can play it, if you can do and put everything that you're saying and thinking and saying into action, greater still. But again, the minimum requirement we owe it to ourselves is to think that good. Think on the higher side. And I think that's where it all begins and ends, isn't it? A thought, an empowered intention behind that thought, and creates change. But yeah, it does begin with a thought. And yeah, we love truth. We crave truth. We don't like lies. None of us do. Anyone who's a good and accomplished liar has been doing it all their lives, and has probably been put in a situation where they've been forced into lying. And since we don't know the circumstances of any, we shouldn't be so quick to judge, because who knows what levels. I'm going to be extreme and say what levels of abuse. Ritualistic abuse is a supposed reality, and who knows? But the system is set up in that sense, isn't it? It rewards the deceiver. It does. It stamps on the honest sayer in every sense, really. But that's where we come back into making peace with ourselves, and sort of reevaluating everything. Think about what we do value in this life. Think about what is worthwhile. Yeah, I'm just going for a cigarette. Let me just go for a cigarette briefly. It's a rainy evening on the west coast of Ireland, which is not west, by the way, Del. I don't think it's west. It's like everything is on its side. England is sort of north of us, in a sense. If you have Africa, think about the dodo again. Think about the Nile going from right to left, from east to west. This is the true east, and true west is right to left. So Ireland, east, would be south to north, as we know it now, would be the real east to west. That's the way I see it in terms of its literal layout. I always wondered. I wondered when I was flying to America at that time. What the fuck was I going up to Newfoundland? Well, makes sense on the dodo map, Del. It makes sense. So again, that's a couple of things that make sense, and I'm sure a whole hell of a lot. Once we get a map in there, once we get a few countries overlaid in there, I bet you so many other things, so many other anomalies will make sense as well. So that's another. I'm just at the rain. So just looking at the sun is cold. The sun is cold because if it wasn't cold, there'd be mayhem up above. There'd be mayhem up above the atmosphere, There would just be, I think this cold water, this is where the real hell is. The real hell is above, the cold water is beyond. So if you had a blasting sun, we all know how warm the sun is, coming in and forcing itself upon these waters, you'd have drastic conditions up there. I think what's happening is the sun is cold, but it's only when it's sort of reflecting and vibrating through the atmosphere that we experience heat as we perceive it, so just as it's raining here, right, the rain just doesn't come from the clouds above. It's sort of a system-wide thing. So as the sun passes over and around the barrier, it brings with it sort of different conditions. It does affect the environment around it as it travels, and it's water in its rarefied form, sort of, how would you say it? It comes from the top down and from the bottom up in terms of evaporation, from the bottom up, from the top down in terms of I want to say leakages, if you will, from the barrier. But it's not leakages, it's just water in a different form. So when you get constant rain for hours and hours on end, it's not that the clouds have this inexhaustible supply of water. No. It's been supplied above and below. Well, not below, obviously, while it's raining, but from above with its gasoline, if you will, its fuel. But it's just water in a different form, rarefied, if you will. And we know all about rain in Ireland here. It's been raining here pretty pretty much all day long. Cloud layer isn't even that thick. If you look up, you could see pieces of blue through the cloud today, you know. So that's what leads me to believe as well that that's just another system that doesn't work as it says in the tin. It does contain truth, but not the whole truth. Anyone want to come on for a chat? Just mention it in the text. I know there's a few hangouts on. Jamie had a hangout on, and when I looked in there, it was just Ali and Chris Effie. So I was going to leave a text and chat for Jamie. I really like Jamie. That he has two actors there. I know Chris Effie is an actor, but Ali, yeah, Ali, I'm afraid you're an actor for me, man. You don't add up. Yeah, you don't add up. You have again, you're thrown in truth, then you're thrown in sort of fantasy and with truth, and we won't know where we stand. You know, the moon landing's been real, satellites been real. No, not buying it. You know, and again, when you give wrenches out to people like Mark Taylor or Jed Skeptic, I mean, what's going on here? You've been in this arena for long enough. I remember you were around last year, and you say you've been around long before that. You must have got the grips on these characters, these knockers, these agents of deception, these actors, these characters, these faceless, nameless crowd. I know Jed shows his face and all that, but he'd be the exception. You never see Mark Taylor's face or Jeremy's face or Paper Explanator's face. Although he did, what Paper Explanator, you do see him in the form of Chris Effie, and I was thinking to myself, why did he choose Jamie's hangout? He must have known I was here, so he was probably planning on some sort of discrediting move on my good self here. And listen, I offered Paper €100, Paper Explanator $100, just for showing his face and having a chat. That's all. He can give the €100 to cancer charity, children's cancer charity, if he likes, you know. But no, he won't do that. And I wouldn't trust the two. I wouldn't trust like Chris Effie on camera and Paper Explanator in chat, because as I said, technology that they have and the technology that is in existence, known technologies in existence, can make it possible for that to happen, you know. So Chris Effie and Paper Explanator are the same character, but you could have Chris on his camera and Paper talking in a different sense. Someone could be talking and sort of replicating Paper's voice via some sort of contraption. I don't see that. I know the technology there. In real time, you can add a voice to a different personality, or you can put words in a personality's mouth. You know what I mean? But he won't take up that offer. Paper Explanator says he has no webcam or he has no camera on his laptop, even though he's a university qualified physics teacher. No, don't buy that, man. So I was going to say that to Jamie, but I've said it before anyway. And I guess people will just have to learn for themselves. And there's no point in me pushing it. But I wouldn't be interested too much in having conversations with these people, really, because more often than not, there'll be controversy based on something I'll say, and they in reactive mode, or else it would just be I have to ask the difficult questions, you know. I mean, when I asked Ali that the other evening, he said he was still under the Official Secrets Act. Well, how am I supposed to trust you then, Ali? You know, you're still under the Official Secrets Act because you have top security clearance as a cleaner with the Ministry of Defence, but yet I'm supposed to trust you, but yet you come out and tell me that the moon landings are real based on a flimsy story. It's not as if you have substantial evidence that you can present for thinking that. No, you know, based on a very flimsy story. So when I combine that with your thoughts on satellites, and I know you do have some truths, I don't take that away from you, but when I combine that with your thoughts on satellites, your father-in-law, you talked about being Mason, all this sort of stuff, that makes me call you out as an actor. And again, no judgment against the man or woman, but an actor is someone on this stage, on this flat earth arena who's not exactly what they're presenting themselves to. That's what I mean by an actor. And in that, I can include lots of people. I can include so many people. It's almost easier now. It's almost easier to say, to name people who think are not actors. You know, that's an easier one. But there certainly are genuine people from flat earth. Absolutely. Make no bones about it. And again, you know, unless it was for all of this this antagonistic behavior in the past. Anyway, I don't have much to learn now, but in the past, if it wasn't for all of these characters and this sort of challenging and this ridiculing, this knocking, but then maybe I wouldn't, speaking personally, and I think this can apply to a lot of us as well, we wouldn't have got where we were and where we are now in terms of our understanding, you know. So it's about using what we can and leaving the rest behind, and we can leave all the shit behind, you know. There's plenty of shit always been thrown. I love the rain. I've always loved the rain. In my days of thinking that, in my evolutionary mind, I was thinking it was a throwback, I don't know, to maybe when we had sort of inhabited the caves or something, just to comfort the pitter patter of the raindrop as they fell, you know. But now I'm thinking about it more in terms of giant trees. But was there even rain then? Don't know. Don't think so. Remember, the Lord God, in the day He made the heaven and the earth, and before He had caused any rain to fall, a mist went up and watered the land. So yeah, I'll just go back to chat and just see if anyone wants to come in. You're welcome in, Dave, if you want, of course. Paper explanator, come on, there he is. I knew they're always listening. I thought you were monitored at every level. Put yourself on camera, Paper. That's all, man. I'll give you $100. Get yourself a camera, right? Get yourself a little webcam for 10 quid. Put yourself on camera, and Chris will be there at the same time, you know. So again, anyone with wrenches, unless they'll, you know, they're particularly obnoxious or whatever, I'd rather that wrenches be kept to an absolute minimum. But Paper, Paper is still alive and kicking, still full of the joie de vivre, you know. I'm glad to see you got the better of your cancer, Paper. You know, that put you on a spot, didn't it? That put you on a spot. But of course, each and every one of ye over at Earth Discussions, not each and every one of you, but for the most part, knows each other as an actor, you know. So it's about sort of one-upmanship in a sense. Who can insult the worst? Who can ridicule the worst? Who can lie the best? You know, these are the things. And isn't it interesting? You were in Paper, weren't you? And you talked about being in Ireland at a certain stage. I remember. I think you were in the army with Mark Taylor. And isn't it funny that Chris F.E. was in the army, or not in the army? He was in Ireland as well in around 1997. Isn't that funny, isn't it? But I don't want to dwell on that. It doesn't bother me. Just for Jamie, that's all I was saying it for. That, you know, these people are not genuine, and we do well to be aware of it. But no point in telling anyone that anymore. I mean, people have to realize these things for themselves. But yeah, deception always shows its face ultimately, you know. Chris came on. Just go back, anyone interested, just go back and listen to Chris Evie's first chat with Jamie, and you see him talking like this, Peter. It's almost as if he was sort of, I don't know, retarded in a sense, but I thought he was acting his part at the time. But he said there was nothing wrong with him. When I asked him, he was just after a few beers. No, man. Again, I knew immediately. It's the same voice, the same character. Now, the possibility is that you have voice changers that no matter who's speaking, the voice comes out the same. You know what I mean? But no, I don't think so. I think the character is the base, is the basic operator, and the voice changer works around the character's inflections or mode of speech or whatever, you know. But again, you can't conceal certain things. It's not just about the speed. It's about the idiosyncrasies. It's about the little nuances. And that's how I spotted that Negator X was Look a Pig. But more importantly, is Near. Negator X is playing the character Near, who says he's a 15-year-old ball earther, and Dredd entertains him, even though I've told Dredd that this guy's an actor. But yeah, that's Negator as well. You know, you can again, it's sort of crazy talk for anyone who's sort of listening in or who's new to this. But listen, fuck it. This is the reality of it, and this is the nature of the game, you know. So it doesn't matter if you think about it. You won't be able to do without it. Yes, I was wrong about you and Russ McGarry. Absolutely. I wasn't wrong about you and Evil Edna, though, Paper. Why didn't you say that? You see, here's the thing. I already admitted that. But why didn't you say, Pete, you're still wrong about me and Evil Edna? See, you catch yourself out, man. You catch yourself out. Unlucky. And you could never handle me, could you, Paper? You never liked me, man. On a few occasions, that hatred, that vitriol came out. And Del has a few videos up on his channel, which show you losing your rag, Paper, after being caught out. So it can't be pleasant. I'm not sure if it's part and parcel of your job description to be here as Chris Fe. I mean, or is it sort of reactionary? Is it reacting to events or whatever? But who cares anymore? I'm not bothered about you. Get Evil Edna on here. Listen, the minute I talked to you, anyone listening, the minute I mentioned Chris Fe being Paper, in comes Paper. It was the same the other day when I mentioned it about Chris Fe on a different chat. He straight in making a comment. Again, all this stuff has been monitored. And again, you wouldn't know the history there, Casper, between this guy, this character, Paper Explanator, Evil Edna, myself, fakeologist, all this sort of stuff. You're just dealing with characters who lie at the drop of a hat. It's all an act, or it's all an act. Isn't it interesting when Chris Fe came on for the first time, he mentioned 2 counties, Limerick and Clare. How would he, of all the counties you can mention in Ireland, in associating with me, Del, of all the counties you could mention in Ireland, he picked the 2 counties where I'm currently at and where I was at. So again, I knew immediately. I knew from the get-go, but I'm not going to waste any more time on you, man. Get yourself a camera. Do the right thing, Paper. If you've nothing to fear, you've nothing to hide. Get yourself a camera, and do the right thing. You can give that $100 to children's charity. You could send it off to Africa or someplace like that, where you'll help a whole hell of a lot. Just get yourself a little camera. Come on, man. What have you to hide? You've been around doing rounds for years, So it's a thing of the past, isn't it? Do I want to speak to? No, I don't want to speak to you, man. I don't want to speak to you. What would if he goes on camera again? Remember I asked you, here's Pure now, here's all the guys in. Again, Del, are any wrenches out there? You know my thoughts on wrenches, and only if it gets too extreme, I'm thinking, but I leave it up to your own discretion as well, Del. But yeah, you know my point of view on that. Well, Pure, you're another character actor. You're just you're one of them, sure. What more do you want to say? You have small man, angry man syndrome. But no. I've sussed you out. I always give everyone a chance. Anyone I'm talking to, always give them a chance initially. Give them a few chances even, but pretty quick to spot these people. Again, anti-conspiracy crew, the knockers, the ridiculers. Any new thought they will put you down for, or any sort of venturing from the straight and narrow. So boot them when you get cornered. What a gutless turd. Jesus, that's some language. That's some language from a dying man, eh, Del? What do you reckon? From a dying man with stage 4 cancer with 4 months to live. Yeah, you're a destroyer of the earth, Pure. You take glory in doing all of these things. You're a coward, really, because you won't call out 9/11 for what it is, and you support a regime of terror worldwide. So you don't care. I mean, if I was to ask you about any of the basic things, I mean, looking into maybe the latest terror hoaxes, you'll come along and say, well, you'll say 1 or 2 things. I haven't looked into that, or else you're a crazy son of a bitch for even thinking about that. Well, that gives the game away. When you look into these things, you need a minimum IQ to realize that you're dealing with fuckery here. So by you coming out so vehemently ridiculing someone who looks into these notions, well, that gives the game away. So again, I make no judgment on the man. I'm not qualified to do that, but I will call you out as an actor, someone who is on here presenting themselves as something that you really are not. So I'm cool with that. There's another curved water, another faceless, nameless, antagonistic, bitter old begrudger. You're not dying anymore. You're not dying anymore, Paper. I guess that's good to hear. We're all dying now. That's another thing about Chris Fe. He won't show his eyes too clearly, I think the eyes are the keys to the soul, and I think there's a lot of nastiness going on in there. I do. Captain Cat shit. 666. Excellent. That's a nice thought I had today. Yeah, but passion for flat Earth. I've dealt with this guy before, and if he goes on camera, absolutely I'll have him in. Otherwise, I don't want to have anything to do with him. I made him an offer, €100 to go on camera, and if he's a heart, what's going to cost you paper? You're already involved. You're already involved heavily in flat Earth denial, but you'll never do that, will you? You'll never go on camera. So, but yeah, take it easy, Dal. If you're off, well done, man. I'm going to give Casper. Not that it means anything, buddy. I don't like wrenches, but I'm definitely going to give you a wrench since I've given them out anyway. Yeah, just I don't like wrenches, Casper. And one thing I would ask is just as minimum as possible, just use the wrenches. I don't mind paper in here just momentarily anyway, because what? So $100, haha, you're taking a piss. Anyway, you announced that I'd already been on camera. Yeah, but you as the character paper explained. You haven't been on camera, and again, you can't be now. You see, because Chris Effie came along and said, "But sure, look, here's my channel. This is operational since whenever." Well, that stands to reason, Chris. You know, like Negator X playing a few different characters. This is par for the course. So if you're going to be on camera at all, you're only going to be on once. Because when did I say you've been on camera? I said you've been on camera as Chris Effie, because I know you're all the same character. So you've never been on camera otherwise. You've always had this excuse, so my camera has no webcam. It's just a teaser to my new Flat Earth song. I know it doesn't come across well. Our guitar isn't the best. Okay, Pure, you said, I've said many times, 9/11 is questionable, but the buildings fell exactly how they would with extensive fire damage and structural damage. Bullshit, man. This is nonsense, Pure, and stop acting the fool. Stop acting the fool. That's all. What's that? Fair dues. Remember when Antonio challenged you to play guitar, Pete? No, it was Mick. Flatwater, Flat Earth didn't believe I played guitar. But again, my guitar isn't great. I'm probably a better guitar player than what I come across as being. I'll sing a verse or two of this one. I like this song. I'll sing a verse or two of it because it's pretty good. But again, lots of clues. Maybe I'll sing the whole lot, but I'll sing it a bit low. It's a bit late here. So. Was over and the spirit was broken. The hills were smoking as the men withdrew. Stood on the cliffs, so we watched the ships slowly sink into the rendezvous. They signed a treaty and our homes were taken. Loved ones forsaken, they didn't give one damn. Try to raise a family, end up the enemy. I went down on the plains of Abraham. Acadian driftwood, gypsy tailwind, they call my home land of snow. Canadian cold front moving in. What a way to ride, oh, what a way to go. And some return to the motherland. The high command had them cast away. Some stayed on to finish what they started. They never plotted, they just felt that way. I'm gonna just get the lyrics, sorry, felt that way. Okay, I know the lyrics anyway. We had kin living south of the border. They're a little older and they've been around. They wrote in the letter, life is a whole lot better. Pull up your stakes, children, and come on down. Acadian driftwood, gypsy tailwind, they call my home land of snow. Canadian cold front moving in. What a way to ride, oh, what a way to go. Under zero and the day became a friend. My clothes were wet and I was drenched to the bone. Been out ice fishing, oh, too much repetition makes a man wanna leave the only home his known. Sailed out of the Gulf, heading for St. Peter. Nothing to declare, all we had was gone. Down along the coast, oh, I heard the most. People there said, you better keep moving on. Acadian driftwood, gypsy tailwind, they call my home land of snow. Canadian cold front moving in. What a way to ride, oh, what a way to go. Last verse. Last summer filled with ill content. This government has spoken in change. This isn't my turn to do, this ain't the season. Can't think of one good reason to remain. Worked up in the sugar fields down in New Orleans. It was evergreen up until the flood. You could call it a nomad, point you where you're going. Set my compass north, I got winter in my blood. Compass north, eh? Canadian driftwood, gypsy tailwind, call my home the land of snow. Canadian cold front, what a way to ride, oh, what a way to go. French next. C'est tu Agadia, j'ai de mal de paix, tanné Agadia, fais de larmes au soleil, je vis Agadia, tilam, 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 je vis Agadia, tilam, 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 je vis Agadia. Tilam, 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 shine like a teacher. Tilam, tilam, tilam. That's a lovely song by the band. If you haven't listened to any stuff by the band, check it out. Associated with Bob Dylan again. Acadian Driftwood. Acadia, place up north. Again, set my compass north. I got winter in my blood. They all know about it, man. C'est tu Agadia, j'ai le mal du pays. Do you know Acadia? I'm sick of this country. Ta neige Acadia, fait de larmes au soleil. Your snow Acadia wraps me in sunshine, and J'arrive Acadia, Tidelam, Tideloo. I've arrived at Acadia. I'm delighted. So that's gone back. How many years? That must be gone back to the late 60s, that song. Even before that. Nearly 50 years, crazy stuff. So, excellent song, though. So, J'arrive Acadia, Tidelam, Tidelam, Tideloo. Yeah. Hey, Charlotte, how you doing? Captain Bullshit. Pete looks like he stinks the piss. No, not really. Do have a glass whenever I can. First thing in the morning usually, and a bit later on in the evening. But I have no set times. But yeah, don't worry about that. Let's see you. No, I don't want to talk to you. Paper. I told you, get yourself a camera, and I'd give you $100. You know, that's all you have to do. How much? What have you to hide, man? What are you afraid of? This is what all he characters. You never see Captain Bullshit's face either. You know, all these characters. You know, and thanks Casper. I know it's a bit low as well there, but yeah, you'll never see the faces of any of these constant antagonists. Some of them have been doing the same thing, asking the same questions, and delivering the same vitriol for months and months, if not years on end. Yeah, so that gives the game away itself. A4 is here. How you doing? That's a nice way to say hello, Pissy Pete. Yeah, no worries, A4. No worries. We all know the mouth that you have and how easily you're capable of slinging around sort of insults and other stuff. But that's fine. We'll let that be with you. I won't reciprocate. Is Paper afraid of being identified? Yes, he is. Yes, he is, Casper. Yes, I have. So yeah, I have seen you, Paper. And as I said to Chris, you look pretty much how I thought you'd. It was uncanny. I picture this guy, mid-50s, in a sort of a sparse room, a drink by one hand and a voice changer by the other. And that's exactly it. You're trying to tell me, Paper Explainer tries to tell me he's 44 years of age. That's a laugh and a joke. You know, again, you'll never see the face, Casper, because they have something fundamental. Same with Jeremy here. Never see your face. Why won't we see your face, Jeremy? Why have so many of you problem with showing your faces if you're genuine, if you're honest? Why would you? Why would you have that problem? Yeah, yeah, Casper's there. Yeah. Well, Adam, you say I will say nasty things about the flat earthers. They're cultist losers who think it's okay to ban and block people and name call. So goose and gander. Which flat earthers, A4? I haven't blocked or banned you. I haven't said anything much about you, really. You called me a pedophile and all this. You called me other stuff in the past, which you were prone to do to pretty much everyone. You had to go back on a lot of stuff and apologize to people. So, I mean, you should be more careful in what you say and to who you say in the first place, I guess, shouldn't you? If you're prone to being incorrect and wrong, and if you're prone to throwing such slanderous things around. But I do understand that flat Earth is infiltrated. I have a problem with. Yeah, A4. I have a problem with And it's a difficult one. I love Pancho Pete. I haven't called him out as an actor, nor have I called Vincent out as an actor. I have called Candy out as an actor, and Zulu One, and American Brian guy who says he's still on the military payroll. But regarding Vincent, I don't know. I did question Vincent. What are you doing raising money for Candy? What? I mean, what's going on there? I mean, is this what Flat Earth is about? I don't think so. And again, these characters are new on the scene, and there's already question marks about them. So I don't. It's not that I don't understand what's going on, but I don't. And I've said this to Pete. I left him a message saying I haven't said he's an actor. There are suspicious things around. I thought that Antonio Subrats, when I exposed him, if you will, he exposed himself actually the time he was talking to me. Just what a nasty character, honestly. Just the shit he was coming out with. And so he exposed himself there. But I did think that he had some sort of a hold over Pancho Pete. He kept reminding him of the time that when he was the one who visited him in hospital, and Pete was giving him more leeway than what he was due. But that's all I've said. There is suspicious things, but none of us are above suspicion. So, but I haven't called you out, Pete, and but yeah, I'm loath to do that. Same with Vincent. Maybe you're caught up in something. You're not understanding really the full extent of it. But Flat Earth is infiltrated at every level. We don't have to talk. Well, Jeremy, you ask about infiltration. We don't have to talk about infiltrated. You're part of that sort of description. You and Paper here, bullshit man. You're all infiltrators. You're actors pretending to be something that you're not. Of course, we know all the ballers automatically. The ballers who keep coming back, asking the same questions, looking for the same proofs, dishing out the same ridicule. Yeah, we know that they're suspicious in the extreme, and this is not how normal people carry on, especially when Flat Earth is a reality. And it's been proven in so many basic ways. Paper, you've been a man of physics. You helped me out as well. I understand a lot more now than I did the last time I spoke to you, and that's for certain. I know what the 666 is about. I mentioned it earlier on. The G represents, let me just go over it, anyone who didn't hear. The G represents, it's all about nature, how about we live in a broken system. The square and the compass. The square represents the Earth. The Earth is to be mapped out in grid fashion. Cartesian coordinates will describe the flat Earth. East is east and west is west. Never the twain will meet. There's no east and west on globe Earth paper. There's no east. How can there be? If I asked you to point east, where would you point? You'd have to point all the way along the circle, wouldn't you? So this isn't how things work. Oh man. Actually, do you know what? I might give you a chance the next time, paper. It's a bit late here, so I was only going to stay on for a couple of hours anyway. But east is east, west is west. Never the twain shall meet. Now, these old sayings pass down through time because they contain truth, right? So east is east and west is west and never the twain shall meet doesn't work on a globe because, of course, if you travel far enough east and if you travel far enough west, you will come around to meet in the center. So east does meet west, but not in reality. In reality, you're the fixed location from me, and vice versa. Every land mass is at a fixed location relative to every other land mass, and you can point to it. So now if you point your finger in a specific direction, you travel in the direction you would get to your destination. There's no going over curves. There's no changing. There's no looking at the compass. The compass is only orientated around the north center. All needles point to this north center where the sun resides, where the source of the sun resides. The Masonic, that's the Masonic square. So that's to be used for mapping the flat Earth, which is encoded within the dodo. The dodo encodes the actual continental relations, landmass relations on our flat Earth, and always has done. The dodo itself never existed as a real bird. This is how they work. So that's what the square represents. The compass represents the contour of the sky. Okay, so we have the two separate systems at play, and you can't use one to describe the other. You can't use the flat Earth to describe the sky or the lights in the sky. You can't use the lights in the sky to describe the flat Earth. That's just the way it works. Yeah. So here it comes to the G in the center. So what's the G? Well, what's in between the Earth and the barrier? Well, you have the sun, of course. 666 represents the sun. If you look at a G, it looks very much like 6. So why the 3 6s? Well, the G itself, as you can see, Gem Panda, from your screen name there, the G has 3 separate components. You have the spherical circular component with the sweeping arc, then you have the vertical component, and then you have the horizontal component. So this is all in relation to 3 separate but combined movements of the sun at the central north. So this is where I'm at. So again, I wouldn't be at where I'm at now unless I've had all those experiences and those encounters with the likes of ye. So in a way, paper, maybe you especially as well, when you argue the point, sure, you have knowledge behind you, you're well trained, but you are arguing a lie. So me knowing that, and me knowing your character somewhat and having encountered you before, I can glean a lot from that. And what I have said before and will continue to say, you learn more from people like you by the things that you won't talk about over the things that you will. So that especially applies to someone like you, who you're allowed to talk about certain things and you're not allowed to talk about other things. You just can't do it. This is where you fall down, paper. Smart man like yourself to be so anti-conspiratorial. Doesn't wash. But I guess maybe it's not up to everyone to see it. So can they ban you, Adam? Well, that's not surprising. When I called these people out as actors, I went on to, and I'm calling them out an actor for a good reason. I called Candy out as an actor. She's laid onto the scene. She's always disruptive, I find, anyway. And if it's not a bad microphone, bad volume, a bad camera, it's even the chat that she goes along with. It's pretty much nothing to do with anything conspiratorial, and it's all sort of chit chat and banter, like. But I called her out because I called Zulu 1 out. Zulu 1 being an ex-cop, but having a brother from his own mouth, having a brother in the PSYOP department of the military, him being some sort of a mediator between Flat Earth and law enforcement, all this sort of stuff, gives the game away, really. You know what I mean? So these people can't be trusted or taken at face value. They have to be open to ask them the most sort of probing of questions. You know what I mean? If we suspect there's a liar in our midst, well, then what else are you going to do? I know I'm not a liar, so I'm going to ask questions. And then if the answers are satisfactory, then fine, we can move on, you know. But if they're not satisfactory, then we have to make a deal about it. So these answers weren't satisfactory. Of course, Zulu 1, I talked about Mark Sargent before. Mark Sargent Prepper, he's the head honcho. Everyone sort of protects that central core and point you to that central core. And I have all of these people are associated. Candy was associated with these people beforehand, before Flat Earth. She's friends with them for years. So by association, they're actors. You're an actor as well, Candy. So I called you out. So when I called you out, there was big. I was in Pancho Pete's chat at the time, and there was this sort of. It was a bit childish, actually, as if I couldn't see through it. But you sort of protested too much. You know what I mean? But here's the point: when I called you out, that was fine. I went off to talk with Jamie Brown, and that very same evening, there's about 30 people watching, just like there is now. That same evening, Jamie, in a short period of time, had a massive attack in terms of thumbs down, and I've never seen that amount of thumbs down anyway. 450 thumbs down in a short space of time. That's crazy. That was a coordinated attack, and not that I can fuck like, but just knowing that this is a sort of a combined effort makes you an enemy. You're calling them out, and you know, not you know it as well, Adam. For the most part, I was with you, man. You know, you spoke about a lot of truth and a lot of stuff that I had come to realize myself. But then you added different things in. I mean, to be provocative. I think the big provocative thing with you was the Masonic ring that you claimed to have got sent, and then you put it up as an avatar. I mean, that's not going to instill any controversy. It's just going to cause controversy more than anything else. So if that's a plan or a plot, that leaves a little room for uncertainty there. And but yeah, if you're upsetting the status quo, if you're calling out truths for what they are. I mean, for me, 9/11 been a hoax, been been a victim fakery extravaganza as a gimme at this stage. Again, it's not just knee-jerk reaction. It's not just repeating something that someone told me. This is 2 years of research. I settled on that position back in 2011, man, you know. But apparently, even to this day, it's as controversial as ever to mention you know, media fakery, victim fakery. So even amongst flat earthers who should know better, you know, I mean, for God's sake, they faked your home, they faked the universe. They can't fake a measly thing like 9/11, especially when they have years and years to plan it and to execute it. Yeah, that's ridiculous. So when anyone comes out with this knee-jerk reaction and ridicule, well, then they're suspicious, and you expect that from the likes of Curved Water here, or Pure, or Paper, or any and all of the ballers for that matter. But you don't expect it from flat earthers. You know, that's why I have a beef with Isa Mahalski. For the most part, I agree with him, but he won't go near two areas. He won't go near the 9/11 media hoax, media and victim hoax, and he will talk about law. He wants to keep you within the system, but he won't talk about the fact that it's illegal to use the legal name. It's illegal to use the legal name because it is not your property. It was signed away with the creation of your birth cert by your parent. So he won't comment on that. So he is an actor as well. He's not genuine. He is protecting some truths. He's allowed to talk about certain things, I think, and not others. And I've said this to his face, and I've said it in chat. And again, I make no judgment on any of the men, any of the people, the real flesh and blood behind the characters, because I don't know the greater story. I've often asked a question like, if I was privy to greater secret, you know, an unfolding, if you will, would I play the role of a bad guy or a good guy or whatever as part of the sort of awakening process? Sure, I think we all would, you know. So bearing that in mind, and I've said this to Jeremy before, if this is what you're doing, of course, you'll be well rewarded in time. But if you're doing this on the basis of, I don't know, bribery, you've been bribed, or you've been blackmailed in some way, or you're just doing it that's the worst thing you can do it for is monetary reasons, well then, not good, man. I don't envy you and what maybe you're in for ultimately. I just looking 33 watching. I mentioned about 33 earlier on, and I mentioned about the 666. Yeah, that's the 666. So here's where that came in with the G. The G is an later introduction into the English alphabet. It's a sort of an invading letter, if you will. It looks very much like a 6, right? I also already made a connection between the flat earth and the square and the contour dome and compass, and then the G in the center. Independently, I thought about the G being representative of the three separate movements of the sun. You know, one, the sun and whatever it's located on. But it is three separate movements. You can see three separate pen movements. When you're doing a capital G, you have the circle, you have the upright, and then you have the horizontal. This is indicative of the three movements that the sun the sun participates in, you know, epicycles, that sort of different system, just an internal system on a continuous basis. So yeah, so that was interesting. So that's where the 666 comes in, because the 6 is very reminiscent of the capital G, and then the 36 is because of the three separate movements that the sun is doing in unison. And I know the likes of Paper here, Paper especially knows what I'm talking about, because I know he knows, and I suspect that most of you suspect Gem Panda, Curve, Paper, you all know the earth is flat. I've said this many times before. You all know the earth is flat. You're doing this, again, for whatever reason. I hope it's for the former reason. Again, you're trying to shake people out of their slumber, trying to get people to question at a fundamental level why they believe what they believe, and you're acting the sort of the role of the provocateur, the antagonist, to facilitate people in shaking off these veils of ignorance. So if you're not, again, well, who knows what you're in for then, man. You can't betray your fellow man willy-nilly without a price being paid. That's one thing I absolutely do believe. Everything comes back to us. Everything we think, we say, we do count. So if you do something for the purposes of personal gain, that's probably the worst crime. Now, if you were being blackmailed or something like that, that's even a different thing, you know. That's a fucking stickler there. I mean, but yeah, if you're playing this role then where you are aware of the truth, then you can't be faulted it at all, can you? If you're just playing this role of purposeful antagonist for the greater good. So again, I would make no judgment on the man, but just obviously you're all actors. You're obviously all playing a role, so I have to call you out in that. So yeah, yeah. So just to get back to that, Pete, Punch of Pete. Yeah, I haven't called him out as an actor, and for me, Pete, I love Pete, and he's passed all three of my litmus test things. My litmus test is anyone who's been in the conspiracy investigation world for an ample amount of time should have come across these three things: the flat earth, 9/11 media fakery, victim fakery, and legal name fraud. They're all sort of part and parcel of our reality, and they're all easily accessible in terms of the information, and easily understandable as well. You know, how many times do you want to see nonsense with the 9/11 footage before you call bullshit? You know, and again, it's there in spades, so no excuse for that. And the reason I tie all these three things together in my litmus test is flat earth is self-evident. You know, let me give you the bottom line on flat earth. And you know, if the earth is stationary, if the earth isn't moving, then the ball doesn't even enter the equation. You know, it is flat by default based on the universal behavior of water. The earth has been proven to not move, so therefore the ball is dead. You will never be able to present any evidence which shows that the earth moves. Paper, Jeremy, any of the rest of you who support a ball model. You will never be able to present any of the evidence, and you have to shy away from the evidence that shows you that the earth doesn't move. Newton's theorizing is based on the earth moving with the stars being still, right? Einstein, again, an extension of Newton based on the earth moving and the stars moving. So everything moving in relative motion relative to one another. But again, the initial premise is that the earth is moving. Now, if the earth can be shown to not move, then it all goes out the window. And indeed, the earth has been proven not to move 1 inch. So therefore, the ball is dead. We move on. That's it. You can't deal with that, Jeremy. You can't deal with that. You're all about the moon landing. How the hell can you land on a light, man? How the hell can you land on a light? You know, do you know why they called, and Paper knows this, because I know he knows this. I asked the same question to Chris Flat Earth Jackson, F.E. Jackson, and he smiled because I knew he knew. Do you know, Jeremy, why they call the moon fake moon? Let's just call them the moon missions. We leave out the word fake. But do you know why they call the moon missions the Apollo missions? Political showed Billy Derpa. Hey guys, I'm back. Thank you for the donations. I could pay for my internet and the feed for the raccoon. Lucky raccoons, eh? But you couldn't pay for feed and internet for the raccoons. The raccoons, have a life too. I'm about to get some incest porn. I wonder if what was going on there? I don't know anything about that, but I wonder, was that purposefully done as well? I'm not sure. The thing I said about a hillbilly is he spent all this time on busting Sandy Hook hoaxery, but yet when it came to 9/11, it was like I had two heads when I was talking about fakery, media and victim fakery, where it's as clear as day. You know. It came to 9/11 realization long before Sandy Hook, but I realized that Sandy Hook was a hoax 10 minutes into it. Adam, Adam, have I called out Odd TV? Interesting. I've been talking about the dodo, Adam, and Odd TV. It's sort of an odd name for a channel, first of all, but you just add a little O in there. You have dodo, don't you? I don't know anything about Odd TV, to be honest. I haven't seen him. I suspect I spoke to him as another character in the Fed Hangouts last year. Someone who sounded very like him. He was a game or something or other. But other than that, I don't know anything about him. I don't watch his videos or listen to his music so much, so I just haven't commented on that because I don't know. But he certainly seems to be garnering quite a support as well. And yeah, I heard that someone said that anything coming from Timmy is Is it trustworthy? But I have heard that, but I have seen haven't looked into it. Don't follow him. So if it's true, yeah, sure, it should be exposed. Absolutely, everything should be exposed. But look, Timmy is. Are you serious, Adam? Timmy is reliable. That's another faceless, nameless character. You know, I mean, why are you defending Timmy there? He's not reliable. Might be reliable in. Tell me what Tim has lied about. 9/11, the shape of the Earth, satellites, moon landings. Oh, do you want me to continue on? I mean, see, stuff like that, Adam, what has he lied about? I just said that, man. I just said that. He knows he's playing his part. Come on. I just told you what he's lied about. He's listed about 4 or 5 things there. That's not what he believes, though, man. That's not what he believes. He's a sort of, he's betwixt and between, isn't he? He believes the Boston bombings is a faked affair, but not Sandy Hook or not 9/11. You mentioned about 9/11 yourself, Adam, that you know well. Of course, we weren't there, but based on all the evidence, we're dealing with another media actor's troupe. You know it, you know. So all the research is there. If someone wants to be taken as honest, surely they should do the research. And if they haven't done the research, should they not just come out and say, listen, I'll reserve judgment on that. I'll get back to you. Let me do the research. And then I'll get back to you. No, that's what a normal person would do, you know. But not when you're dealing not these characters. And yeah, he has talked about these things, but again, he's persisted in a lie. You know, he's persisted in a lie. Earth is flat and stationary, man. The dodo encodes the real continental landmass relationships, and it always has done. So again, bread and butter stuff. The Earth is flat and stationary. This is nothing new. This is nothing controversial. What is controversial is the lie, and now we're after explode. So you're not a flat earther as well, Adam. So you're not a flat earther now. What are you? What's your stance these days, man? Why would you want to why would you want to talk about those things when I spin flat Earth into the mix? Can we not talk about many things? If we're all honest investigators trying to sort of find their path forward, all things on the table. You've never been a flat earther, you're a realist. Yeah. I could have sworn you were a flat earther. I know you didn't want to commit. So do you not commit to anything? What are you, a ball earther now, Adam? I know you're not a ball earther. You'll just say beyond a certain point. But beyond a certain point, you can't know, and we all agree with that. There's no proof for a ball. No, there isn't. There is proof for a flat earth, Adam. We're not moving. And based on the universal behavior of water, Earth has to be flat. The biggest deviation, Earth-wide, the biggest deviation is the biggest deviation between high and low tide. Now, isn't it funny that, well, first of all, I'm going to say 100 meters, and that's even being a bit generous, but even rough and round, you know, this is the biggest variation in terms of water levels, ocean levels worldwide. Isn't it funny that the highest variations are to be found up towards the North Pole? Now, I mentioned many times before as well, a retired ship's navigator who sailed the world, spent many years at sea, not a bowler, or not a flat earther at all, a diehard bowler, but he did tell me that all the tides surge from the north. Now, if all the tides surge from the north, that means that billions upon billions of tons of water are flowing into and flowing out of something, right? And isn't it funny that these highest variation readings in tidal heights from high to low tide are found up and around the northern regions, up around Alaska, north of Japan, all these sort of areas, you know. So that's funny. Yeah, and again, stationary Earth proves a flat Earth. You cannot deny that because of the universal behavior of water. We know it behaves in the same fashion without it, unless you drastically change conditions. So if you can deny that, if you can refute that, I'd love to hear it, but you can't. I don't think you can. This is where Newton came in. Did Newton even exist? I don't think so, man. I don't think so. But this is where Newton comes in. No, the Earth is moving. And this is what he says. If the Earth is moving, then we have all the rest. Then the rest follows mathematically. But it's based on the initial premise that the Earth is moving. You've yet to prove it, man. He couldn't prove it. You can't prove something true that's untrue. Einstein, again, went a step further. When it was shown, or at least heavily indicated, Mitchell Morley, that the Earth was not moving, in comes Einstein with his, it appears that the Earth is not moving, but it's just that everything is moving in tandem, you know, in a relative sense. So again, yeah, if you question the initial premise, you only end up as flat. And now, let me just clarify as well, within a limited sense, within the bounds of our local Earth, you will, I do entertain the possibility of something like the honeycomb model Earth, where you have like a football with all its different patches. Each patch is flat, right, locally, but as a whole, it unites to form one giant sphere. Maybe, you know, this is possibility, and this maybe is the reality of it. I do think that different areas were connected before. Or North Pole Center, maybe each one of these patches had a North Pole Center, and when the generating field or whatever, I can go into that next time, what I think the sun is and what I think happened. But when these generating fields got destroyed or attacked or whatever, each maybe realm collapsed on itself. North Pole Center sort of retreating in upon itself, and maybe they're all waiting to be reconnected. Who knows? So beyond that certain limited scope, we get back into speculation. But in terms of our local Earth, we're dealing with a flat plane for all intents and purposes. Again, based on that initial premise that if the Earth is not moving, then the ball doesn't even enter the equation based on the natural behavior of water, amongst other things. Once we accept that, then we can look again. We keep the separation between what's going on above us and what's going on and what we are on. Then we can work out different things. You know, now we know, of course, that the sun revolves around us once per day. The moon is intricately connected with the sun, so that does the same, of course, in its different phases. I understand the phases of the moon as well, and same with the stars. So again, everything has been flipped, and these are different realities, and you can glean from your initial starting premise, which is that the Earth is stationary, which is founded on solid ground. That's someplace we can start. We're not moving, just like we knew as children we're not moving. So that's what I have to say about that. When you talk about cultists, when the cultists involved in flat Earth now who are making money are exposed, then I will side with it again. Well, Adam, I've been calling out actors now for the last while, and our flat Earth is infiltrated at every level, man. Every level. But there are genuine people out there in flat Earth, and there are many genuine people out there in flat Earth, but they've just been said and led. And how you doing, Carl? No chance of seeing the moon tonight, man. Overcast and cloudy, but it is full, isn't it? It is full. Again, I know why it's full. I know what the moon is. I asked Jeremy a question earlier on. I don't think he gave an answer. I don't think he gave an answer. Why they call the Apollo missions, why they call the moon missions the Apollo missions. So that's an interesting question for anyone. Got to call out the individuals doing it. Adam, I called out Antonio Subarats. I called out Martin Leedkey. I did, and I called out Patricia Steer, Mark Sargent. I called out Zulu One. I called out Candy Franklin. I called out Wesley. I called out IPS. I called out a good few others as well. David Weiss, ISA, all actors, Haunted House. Jesus, I could go on and on. Of course, needless to say, all the bowlers are antagonists. All the bowler antagonists are called out. But Math Powerland, that's another one. He's an admitted actor. He admitted it in one of his videos. Isn't it funny that all of these, for the most part, all of these characters will send you south. All the main characters. Mark Sargent sends you south. He's the one that brought Admiral Byrd. You get it? Admiral Byrd, Dodo. Say it's a loose connection, but I know it's a connection. Admiral Dickie Bird. If you haven't heard a Dickie Bird from somebody, you haven't heard a word for them in ages. So he's sending you south. He's introducing this mystery with Admiral Byrd, who comes on in the first place after a major world war and tells this amazing revelation. No. We're being said and led as well. They're all many steps ahead of us, and that's what we have to realize. Anyway, so Bird is a plan for me. His death date gives it away. It's the 11th of March, 1957. Now, not only do you have the 33 there, which is a hoax code, 3 times 11, you also have 1957, which is 1, 9, 5, and 7, which is 22. So you have 3 and 22, which gives you the Skull and Bones code as well. So, he's sending us south. Martha Powerland is talking about sending us south as well, more land. IPS, Infinite Plane, more southward treks, and a few others as well. They all seem to be sending us south. Now, the only problem is, not the only problem is, they won't mention the north. As much has been written and said about the north, they don't mention it. They skip over it. And again, we learn more from what they won't talk about as opposed to what they do. Mark Sargent is an actor, and he's letting you know he's an actor. The only thing he put out, he had no internet presence before the clues, and that's a clue in itself. The only thing he did put out was the preppers Preppers guy. So we have clue there. Mark Sergeant Prepper, Sergeant Prepper, Sergeant Preppers. Okay. So yeah, Patricia Steer then is associated with Mark Sargent. So Miss Steer, remember this is a grand treasure hunt, a grand puzzle. So be careful that you're not missteered in this mystery, you know. Mark Sargent Preppers connects with Gleason's map, which connects with the Raven, which connects with Edgar Allan Poe, which connects with Lewis Carroll, which connects with Through the Looking Glass, which connects with Alice in Wonderland. To support that, we have David Weiss coming in with the name, aptly chosen name, Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. So again, all actors playing different roles, and again, no judgment against the man or the woman. But I need to say these things. I guess someone has to say them, and I know they're true. I know there's role playing going on here. I called out Antonio Subrats for all this drama he's given us. You know, again, the net result of the drama was that when people were on chats, and Antonio would be there, and our Patricia would be there, and then Antonio would come on, you could almost cut the tension in the chat with a knife because people wouldn't know where to look. You know. So again, this is their idea to sort of, you know, have people walking on eggshells. Be careful what you think. Don't be even thinking these things, or especially whatever you think, don't mention it, you know, and that's not the way forward. You mention everything you have to. If there's any questions to be asked or posed, you pose them, you know. And when I called Antonio out as an actor, he didn't come on all guns blazing regarding me calling him an actor, which I'm sure he's been called much worse, you know. And again, what I mean by an actor is someone who is in this arena pretending to be something that they're not really, you know. But he didn't come on all guns blazing, giving out to me for calling him an actor. He came on to ridicule and diminish the dodo idea. Now, as I said to him at the time, he making a fool of himself, really, because he came in and already he tried to diminish me based on something that we had already discussed. That was the start of my investigation, looking at the Gleason's map and seeing the cockerel, the French cockerel, you know. So I had the idea that if you drain some of the water out, right, because there might have been some inundation, we get a better idea of the exact land shape. Every country has a continental shelf. So by doing that and then doing the outline, first of all, without doing the outline, the Gleason's map is Gleason. That's your clue there, Gleason. So there's some sort of joy or jolliness associated with it. But yeah, just looking at it, it looks like a raven. And I think, thanks Mick for telling me this, it looks like a raven sort of perched up with his beak in the air. And yeah, that time we all know the Raven and Edgar Allan Poe story that takes on it a new relevance there. But the Gleason's map is not true. It's not the truth, you know. And yeah, so it's only when we went around and filled in the outline along the continental shelves, you know, for instance, get rid of all the water in the Mediterranean area and view that as a sort of a solid land. Then did the dodo come into its own. But again, yeah, that's a clue. So we go looking into the dodo and following those clues. Then I knew Radiohead had the soundtrack. Kid A was the soundtrack to the 9/11 movie that was presented to us as real time on the day itself, whereas in fact it was pre-prepared. Kid A came out in 2000 and is the soundtrack to that 102-minute movie. The last song, number 10 on Kid A, is called Motion Picture Soundtrack. So it's telling you all there, right? So I knew Radiohead were insiders, looking to what Radiohead were doing on 9/11 itself. So I knew they were insiders. When the dodo idea, and I've said it before, but thanks to Dell as well, we were both there, and we realized that when someone mentioned it in chat, and it sort of it set off something, you know. But yeah, when the dodo idea came up, I started doing a bit of typing, you know, just someone in the dodo or radio. So anyway, I remembered the Radiohead connection. I knew they were major insiders, so if there was any clues to be had, might get a few clues from them. So I just typed in Radiohead and the dodo. And lo and behold, I burst out laughing, laughed out loud when I saw it. A particular link came up, 42 things you didn't know about Radiohead or something, or Tom York. First of all, Tom York, the lead singer of Radiohead, New York, 9/11. Yeah, when I typed it in, one of the 42 pieces of information. Number 6, I think. Yes, of course it's number 6. Was that Tom's nickname as a child given to him by his brother was Dodo. I couldn't believe it. So none of these. That's not a coincidence. People in chat here might think that's coincidental, but no. Based on the reason why I made the search in the first place, it is not incidental in the slightest. And other connections there as well. Michael Jackson's connection to the dodo, and even the dodo itself, the initial story regarding how the dodo was found in Mauritius, the only place it was found in Mauritius, and also discovered at the same time around Mauritius, were giant turtles. So isn't that funny? Again, a story has been told, an encoded story has been told here. So the dodo never existed, and it was always used to encode the real continental layout on a flat Earth following the destruction, following the inundation. And I date that back little over 400 years. All our fabricated history is only 400 years old. Before that, a completely different realm was in existence. We now live in a broken system, and who knows, are we getting back to previous times? Are we in the process of rebuilding? Who knows? So you're not a flat earther, Adam. Can you give us an indication of where you stand at the minute? Is the Earth moving, man? It's the sad dodo, man. Do I look sad? I guess I do. Not to worry. I know, man. And Adam, listen, I mentioned this earlier on as well. I think this is what they're doing. We're being set up. We know there's truth in flat Earth, but they're looking to lump us all in. So when they make these terror hoaxes so obvious, or when they make the NASA bullshit so obvious, they're doing it for a reason. So they're grouping on. We're being herded. I think we are being corralled. We all know the problems we have with our friends and family and loved ones, trying to spread this truth. We're ostracized for the most part, but now there's battle lines are being drawn. This is where IPS comes into it as well. Now that divide, when we're being identified, yes, we'll be identified as reality deniers. We deny terror. We deny children, that poor children who died. We deny them. How horrible are you? Then we deny the most fundamental thing, which is the shape of our Earth. Everyone knows that the Earth is a ball. So again, these things can and probably are being potentially used against us. And what defense do we have? Well, that's the next question, isn't it? This is where the legal name comes in. What are you willing to lose? What are we willing to let go, and what's at stake here? These are the bigger questions that face us. All these antagonists inside here. Yeah, I don't see. Well, Adam, can you let us know where you're at, man? What's the best model of the Earth, or what's your best description of the Earth that you could offer? Are we moving? Are we still? Is it ball? Is it flat? Is it concave? Can you give us any basic? As far as I was aware, you didn't want to commit to anything, but you were pretty much on board the flat Earth. But beyond that, you didn't want to commit yourself too much. I also thought about your spider god, and again, if we think of almost two domes, a dome in the center, North Pole center, right, which is a sort of a null zone, and then we think of that as the main spider body, and then we think of the contour dome, which is at the boundary. It's low at the north, rises up to high in the middle, and down low at the extremities in Australia as well. And if we think about that circling the whole Earth, then we have a sort of a half donut, sort of shape to it. So pretty much like a spider, isn't it? Pretty much like a spider. So that's the way I see that. But can you, as it goes to call out the agents, and you're going to maybe be able to sift through some truth. Well, who are you calling out, A4? Who are you calling out now that hasn't been called out? Can you let us know about that? I'm just going to go for a cigarette. So if you let us know who you're calling out, Adam, I'll certainly tell you if I am in agreement with you. Again, if I really thought that Punch Pete was an actor, I would definitely call him out, but I don't think so. And at least I'm not sure anyway. So I can't do that. Again, his my litmus test, he passes all three, even though he hasn't satisfied himself that it is the case with 9/11. He says he can picture it, he can see how it would have went down that way. But again, there's so much research there. Which will support your hunch, which is to support your gut feeling. So that's where I'm coming from. But other than that, I've also called out the Bible literalists, and there's a Jewish contingent as well, which are dangerous on the flat Earth. So yeah. So if you're calling someone out, I'd like to hear it, man, because I definitely want to know other people's thoughts on this. We should all say what we feel, and if we're wrong, we should be open and big enough to apologize. If we're not wrong, though, well, we should be better than to stick to our guns, no matter how difficult it is. Yeah, I agree, Casper. Flat out eclectic, the MG pillbox knowledge scavenger. Yes, pretty much. I'm not saying sweeping across the board. I think there are some exceptions. People have been swept up. The Bible is a fabrication. The Bible was there to give credence to an ancient history, an ancient Middle East. Pyramids were fake. The ancient Middle East was fake. Again, for me, all to take away from the North Pole Centre and also a relatively recent destruction, inundation. So the Bible literalists will have us clinging to the book of the very organization that has given us the biggest lie in history, which is the Jesuit, or whatever is the reality there, So that's no good, right? That's not working. And also, Jesus is the Son. Jesus literally is the Son, And Jesus the Son dying on a cross, a broken tree, is pretty literal, But to take it as a man, that's crazy stuff. That is absolutely crazy stuff at this stage, So again, this is back to belief. This is back to revering a book which has been produced and edited and put together by the enemies of mankind. That's my view on it. I'm going back there again. There is a creator in my life. There is a power in my life, but I cannot identify that. I just know it's about love. We know the truth is written in our hearts, I feel. But to give ourselves two characters, two descriptive characters that are described by someone else, no, that's not. I don't think that's a step backwards. That's not a step forward. That's moving further away from ourselves, back into the realms of blind faith, belief, clinging on to, some certainties, or perceived certainties. No, I don't think that's the way forward. I have some potentially very, very interesting information. I mentioned this before, that if I can prove it, it's game over. It's game over for everything. I think I might be able to prove it as well. But and it explains everything. It explains the sun, moon, stars, galaxies, rainbows, magnetic declination, flat Earth, the ice rim, boundary conditions, the dodo, all combined in. That'll be good. That'll be. I'm going to see how to present that, and so I'm looking. I didn't want to mention this, but I am looking for a little bit of help. I guess it's a pretty serious condition, so I can't see any other way around it but to start some sort of fundraiser. So maybe Vincent P might help me there. I'm going through an awful lot of toilet roll these days. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's my nervous disposition. Maybe it's my my sort of body's reaction to all of the negative things that have been said about me and all this sort of stuff. So I'm definitely going through a lot more toilet roll than I normally went through. So I hate to ask, I never thought I'd go so low, and you might think I have some cheap task, that sort of stuff, for a bit of crowdfunding for some toilet roll. But I feel it's a necessity, and also I'm a bit picky, I don't want any of those cheap toilet rolls, some of those more luxurious blends, maybe Kitten Soft or something. That sounds good, so I'll maybe get moving on that in the next few days. And I'm not looking for too much, but definitely sort of a consistent little bit of funding there would take that worry, I think that stress and strain out of my existence. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have to worry about using only one or two sheets of toilet roll just to make ends meet. To make ends meet, eh? I'm gonna sing a song before I go. Guitar isn't the best. It's only a half guitar. I had loads of guitars. It's all right. Anyway, so a quick look at the chat, and then I'm going to sing you out with a song. Just say goodnight to everybody, maybe. Oh yeah, did you name some people, Adam? Hillbilly. Very possible. Very possible. Yeah. Hoaxes like Sandy Hook were made clear. So anyone who spends years on them when they were already made clear is, again, I knew Sandy Hook was a hoax within 10 minutes. So, but other than that, I don't know much about Scott. I do accept the suspicions there. And he hasn't been on the scene actually, has he? So don't know what's become of him. Maybe that little fundraiser will bring back into the flock, but Yeah. These are again Mark Sargent. Mark Sargent is the major hub here. Mark's clues are more. There's more clues in Mark's clues than you realize. You have to pretty much discard the superficial layer of clues, the first layer of clues, and look a bit deeper. The Orlando Ferguson map, Orlando Ferguson map, comes back into reckoning. If we think about the Orlando Ferguson map, what a strange map to adhere to. You know, the roulette table map. Again, when you add up all the numbers on the roulette table, you get 666. 666 isn't a bad number. It's, for me, it's in reference to the G, the big G, the Masonic G, which is in reference to the three separate movements that the sun system is on. I talked earlier on what I think is going on regarding the actual movement and what it's moving on, but I can talk about that again. So yeah, the 666. So yeah, pick that model and map the Orlando Ferguson is crazy because it's, at first glance you have a mix of flat, curve, and convex and concave all thrown into one. But no, it's encoded, and the codes lie with the angels on either side, so we know which way to mirror it. So again, I think the clues Mark Sargent has given are layered. So the real clues are lying just below the surface. So, okay, I'm going to say thanks to the chat for tuning in, and it seems like it ran fairly comfortably. I've given out a minimum of wrenches, so fair play to you, Casper. I hope you haven't had to use them too much, and that's the way I like it, and yeah, I appreciate it. So thanks to Casper, and maybe come on sometime, Casper, we can have a chat, and hopefully we can meet as well. You know, I know we're not too far away, so I'd definitely be up for that at some stage. So thanks, Casper, and we'll talk to you next time. I'll just go through Cigar Face TV. I call that Vincent P. Well, okay, Vincent. Yeah, Vincent is another. I was like Vincent, but he behaved very oddly to me, and he was responsible for sort of, after I had to bust up at Antonio Subrat's. Vincent is very friendly with Antonio Subrat's, and he does a lot of his sort of mod work. I hate mods. Anyone who's mods, let it go to their head as if they have some authority in restricting information or comments. You know, no, I don't agree with that. It's only when someone comes in who's clearly there to disrupt and is there with filth or accusations, then that you can bring out the mod wrench. But otherwise, I think pretty much anything goes. And we can learn a lot, you know, from, again, how people are in chat, what they say, what they don't say. But Vincent P, he seemed to have a wrench everywhere and was, I think the power sort of went to his head, you know, to some degree. But when I had that encounter with Antonio Subrat's, where he exposed himself, on Punch Your Pete's channel, anyone can go back and look and see his behavior. Yeah, the first thing he did, he came in and he ridiculed the dodo, so that told me stuff as well. The dodo has legs, but yeah, Vincent then had his associations with Antonio, so he got on to Pete, Puncher Pete, and said that I had been texting in a chat with Yvette and Charlotte, which I had. I didn't know them before, so I had no history with them, and I take everyone as I find them. But that's what it was. And then he said that I was bad mouthing all flat earthers, which is not true. So two things of concern there. One, that Vincent is monitoring chat, and two, for telling an untruth. So he was going to present the evidence, texts that I showed, or that I was supposed to have written on Poncho Pete's, and I never saw it. He never saw it. I asked him to present it. I asked Poncho Pete to give me a link, first of all, to come in and defend myself, which he didn't. He just said, if this is true, Peter, you're being banned here, which I was a bit pissed off at, like, because I had a good enough relationship with Pete and there was never really too much trouble. But yeah, this pressure was coming from elsewhere, I think. Antonio Subrat's, and yeah, I'm separated from that, what do you call it, crowd as well. And yeah, Vincent, just another bit of mockery from Vincent as well. He was to the Twin Towers in 2000 before they fell. So therefore, because he was to the Twin Towers and saw them, everything I was saying is a lie. Well, this is nonsense, you know. So yeah, I don't know what his story is. I still don't think he's an actor. Maybe he's been fooled, but maybe he's been sucked in. Don't know. But yeah, you didn't do me right anyway, Vince. But that's all right. I'm used to that, and we'll deal with that and move on. Made sure, Matty, Test Vision, A4, who's the most failed actor of them all? One gaytard to rule them all. Antonio Subrat says, Candy's like Golem. Well, I don't like making any personal attacks, but for God's sake, Antonio came out and said that Patricia Steer is a psychopath and a man. You know, I suspect there might be some truth in that, but again, he's front and center in this. So when I started to ask him, well, if he said that, did he think she was an agent? That's the question I asked him. And he sort of, well, mad, what? I don't know. Why don't you be telling me what I know? Well, that's all I'm asking you. You were intimate with this person, and if anyone would know or anyone got an inkling, it would be you. And the point is that if he thought she was an agent, he said he did, then we know about the connection between Mark Sargent and Patricia Steer, so that implicates Mark on a different level as well. But yeah, it's as if you can't ask these questions, and bollocks to that. You can ask anything you like, especially if people who are putting themselves forward as some sort of a head or a leader, and there are no leaders on Flat Earth, none at all. You're your own leader, you're your own hero, if you will. Have no heroes, and yeah, anyone who is prominent and has a group of people following them, if they are being deceptive, they need to be called out, because this is not what Flat Earth is about. Flat Earth isn't about lies. Flat Earth isn't about betraying the systems and the values and the morals that were corrupted and brought us into this mess in the first place. So yeah, and I know that connection with Isa and Vincent being a satellite maker. Now we know he does work in a machine, or as an engineer in machining parts, because he showed his work. But yeah, that's more strangeness. We heard that story about Vincent, and he was being raided, and his computers were being taken, but we didn't hear any more about it. I didn't. Right? So I don't know. Yeah, lots of cause for suspicion. That's what I said to Puncher Pete. That doesn't mean anything. We all have been accused of certain stuff, and we all have stuff that people can be suspicious about, So that's where I am with that. Nostradamus, that's a nice name, Nostradamus. My favorite name still, though, on Flat Earth is Ginger Sugar Bush. It's hilarious. Brings amazing thoughts to mind. So yeah. De La Salle, thank you. I know you. I know you don't like me most of you here, so that's fine. I'll still say cheers for tuning in. And again, the next time, yeah, man. Look at all the ballers who won't show their faces. They can be discarded immediately. Any antagonist who won't show their face, they're cast aside. Their day's done. So I said to Paper Explanator tonight, if he wants to come on, he can show his face, but he won't do that. So I won't be really dealing with him. But right, I'll leave you on a song anyway. And again, thanks for listening in. I went on a bit longer than what I expected, but yeah, this is an old Irish traditional song, so I'll just sing it a bit low. Oh, of all the money that e'er I spent it in good company, and all the harm that e'er I've done, alas, it was to none but me, and all I've done for want of wit, to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me a parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all. Oh, of all the comrades that e'er I had, I'm sorry for my going away, and all the sweethearts that e'er I've had would wish me one more day to stay. But since it falls unto my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and I'll softly call good night and joy be with you all. All the money that e'er I spent it in good company, and all the harm that e'er I done, alas, it was to none but me. And all I've done for want of wit, to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all. So fill to me the parting glass. joy be with you. Lovely traditional Irish song, The Parting Glass. So good night, friends, and joy be with you all. I love you, Steve.